My dad is a weirdo in the online dating world. He has developed dozens of online dating partners in an internet cafe, but he never meets them in person because he uses my photos when dating online. He says that he is afraid that I won't be able to find a partner when I grow up, so he is choosing a daughter-in-law for me in advance. Just now, I was in class when my phone went crazy. Countless friend requests came flooding in. Spring Blossoms added me as a friend, National Kefi also wanted to add me, and even a blonde girl from abroad. When I saw this, I was wondering, Dad, what a mess you have made for me. Just from the pictures and names of these people, I can tell that these women are all quite well off. When I thought about being surrounded by rich women, my scalp went numb instantly. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share. If you like this story, please let me know in the comment section. I will update the next part. In the rental house in Nanyang City, Chunemo was looking at his phone with a sad face. Why? The school beauty Su Mubai confessed to him again. This is the 5th time. Su Mubai is the daughter of the Su family. That appearance, delicate and beautiful, tall and sexy, cold and noble temperament, especially those legs, can make all the boys in the school crazy. But Chunemo is just an ordinary poor boy. They all wondered what attracted this school beauty. I disagree, Chunemo replied, straightforwardly, thinking that according to the usual practice, Su Mubai should not pester him anymore. Hey, I didn't expect Su Mubai to reply this time. When asked why, Chunemo was not vague and said directly, because I already have a girlfriend. Chunmo's so-called girlfriend is actually an online lover. The two have known each other online for 5 months, but they have never even met in person. They don't know what the other person looks like, and they don't know if they are a man or a woman. At this moment, the phone rang, and the online girlfriend Hua Kai Fu Gue sent a message. Calling baby, calling my dear husband baby. Chunemo was so quick that he quickly replied, Dear, I'm here. Then Hua Kai Fu Gue said that she had to work and reported in advance. Chunmo's mouth was like honey, telling him not to work hard and saying that he loved him. Then he curiously asked his girlfriend why she always worked at night and what she did, but his girlfriend retorted back, which scared him so much that he quickly apologized. Then Hua Kai Fu Gue brought a big surprise, saying that they would meet in 2 days. Chunmo's eyes lit up. He had proposed to meet several times before, but was rejected. This time, he finally got what he had been waiting for. He also joked that the meeting would not only involve hugs, but also whether they should go to a hotel to get a room. This made Hua Kai Fu Gue so angry that he called him annoying. Chunemo lay on the bed, his mind full of beautiful scenes of meeting his online girlfriend, but he was also a little worried. What if the other party didn't look as good as he expected? Just as he was thinking, the door was pushed open with a creak. Wow! A gorgeous woman in her 30s walked in. This woman's skin was as white as snow. Her face was delicate and cold. Her hair was tied up high, and she was wearing a black hip-wrapped stepmother skirt. Her figure was simply amazing. Towering breasts, slender legs, and a seductive aura all over her body. She was simply the best among beauties. But when Chunemo saw her, he was devastated. Why? Because this woman was his landlord Chu Runting. This Chu Runting looks like an angel, but has a devilish personality. Chunemo shouted helplessly. Aunt Chu, how many times have I told you? Can you knock before you enter my room? What if I'm not wearing any clothes? How embarrassing. Chu Runting rushed over without saying a word, stepped on high heels, grabbed Chunmo's ear, and said with gritted teeth, Little bastard, call me sister, not aunt. Chunemo quickly begged for mercy, and Chu Runting let go with satisfaction. She sat on the sofa, crossed her legs, and began to ask for rent, water, and electricity bills, a total of 1,300. Chunemo knew that this whole building belonged to Chu Runting. She was a standard white, rich, and beautiful woman, but this woman only accepted cash and had to come in person to collect it. Chunemo asked cautiously if he could delay for 2 days, but Chu Runting refused directly. Chunemo started to say nice things again, saying that he had paid the tuition a few days ago and his salary had not been paid yet. Chu Runting suddenly asked him how much money he had left. Chunemo honestly answered that he still had more than 700 yuan, and emphasized that it was saved from meeting his girlfriend. Chu Runting was amused when she heard this, and even joked that he could pick up girls with only 700 yuan, then took out 1,000 yuan in cash from her Hermes bag and put it on the table, saying that it was a loan to him and he would pay it back together with the rent next month. She also said that she would let her assistant collect the rent in the future, and she should give him the assistant's contact information. Chunemo was about to close the chat box with his online girlfriend, but Chu Runting saw it. Chu Runting was shocked by this. Her face changed drastically, and she stretched out her hand to grab the phone. How could Chinemo let her grab it? She quickly raised it up. Chu Runting was anxious and threw herself forward in her high heels. She lost her balance and fell on Chun Mo coincidentally. The tall and soft body pressed on Chun Mo's face, and a fragrance came over her. Chu Runting was also panicked. Her body trembled, and she quickly stood up to continue asking for the phone. Chun Mo refused to give it to her. Chu Runting was too lazy to talk nonsense and sent messages directly with her own phone. Chun Mo's phone kept ringing. In the end, Chu Runting stood there in a daze. She never thought that Chun Mo was actually her online boyfriend Smooth Sailing, whom she had known online for 5 months. In the rental house, when Chu Runting knew that Chun Mo was the person she was dating online, her mood was even more chaotic than a mess. Chun Mo also noticed Chu Runting's abnormality and asked hurriedly, "Sister Chu, what's wrong with you?" Chu Runting rubbed her temples. Her mind was in a mess, and she couldn't help shouting at Chun Mo. "Chun Mo, did you know it was me? Did you do it on purpose?" Chun Mo was stunned and replied, "Sister Chu, what are you talking about? How should I know?" Chu Runting gritted her teeth and revealed her identity. "I am your online girlfriend, understand?" Chun Mo thought she was joking. His face was full of disbelief. But Chu Runting even knew Chun Mo's private matters, such as the mole on his buttocks and his preference for white silk and uniforms. Only then did Chun Mo confirm that his online girlfriend was Chu Runting. The two looked at each other, and the scene was so awkward that it could make a person dig out a 3-bedroom apartment on the spot. Chun Mo would never have thought that the girl he had been flirting with online for 5 months turned out to be a beautiful landlord, and Chu Runting, the daughter of the Chua group, actually called a boy who was more than 10 years younger than her dear. Chun Mo was like a caring little puppy when chatting online. He knew everything about stocks and futures, company management, classical calligraphy and paintings, and Western classical music. Chu Runting thought he was someone of the same age, but he turned out to be a young man. They were originally planning to meet to confirm the relationship, but now it was so awkward. Chu Runting didn't care about Chun Mo's external conditions. She loved his soul, but the age difference was really hard to accept for a while. She rubbed her temples, not knowing what to do. Chun Mo was also shocked. He met a beautiful woman online who was also very rich, but the age difference was indeed a big problem. Chu Runting adjusted her mood and asked, "Chun Mo, is it really you who is chatting online?" Chun Mo nodded in acknowledgement. Chu Runting questioned again, "Why do you look like someone who can understand those profound things?" Chun Mo explained that he had learned from his father since he was a child, and his mother also liked classical art. Chu Runting asked again, "Then your family conditions are not bad. Why do you live in a rental house?" Chun Mo's expression was serious, and he told the truth. He was originally the heir of the Chen family in Jiming City. When he was in the 2nd year of high school, his parents died unexpectedly. His uncle drove him out of the house to seize the family property. Thanks to the help of his father's friends, he finished high school and was admitted to university. He always wanted to take back everything that belonged to him, and he also found out the truth about his parents' death and took revenge. Chu Runting apologized immediately after hearing this. Chun Mo was also very tactful. He expressed his understanding of Chu Runting's entanglement and said that if she wanted to end the relationship, he would never entangle. Chu Runting was entangled in her heart. She had fallen in love with Chun Mo. Chun Mo's care made her very warm. Chun Mo also had many shining points. She waved her hand and said, "I'll think about it when I get home. After all, there's a big age gap, and it's hard to say what's going on with my family." Then she let Chun Mo stay for free and left in a hurry. Chun Mo looked at her back, smiled helplessly, and called his brother Meng Liang. "Liangzi, I seem to have broken up. Come out and have a drink with me." Meng Liang also joked that online dating was unreliable and asked him to accept Su Mubai. Chun Mo hung up the phone impatiently. The next morning, Chun Mo, who was hungover, was awakened by the alarm clock. He washed up in a daze and went to school. He and Meng Liang fell asleep in the classroom and woke up after class at noon, preparing to go out of school for dinner. As soon as they walked to the school gate, the school beauty Su Mubai came like a fairy. She was wearing a white women's suit today, simple and generous, elegant and charming, with white stockings wrapped around her slender legs. The hem of the suit covered her shorts, looming and sexy, and wearing 8-centimeter high heels, which was simply beautiful. The boys around stared at her, and they all discussed whether Su Mubai was going to confess to Chun Mo again. Su Mubai walked straight to Chun Mo and asked arrogantly, "Chun Mo, do you agree to be my boyfriend?" Meng Liang tried his best to wink at Chun Mo. Chun Mo refused expressionlessly. I said it before. I have a girlfriend, and I won't be with you. Meng Liang almost vomited blood. Su Mubai said confidently. I have investigated. You don't have a girlfriend at all. Chun Mo calmly responded. I do. Su Mubai insisted. Then tell me where she is? If you don't explain it clearly today, don't think about leaving. Chun Mo was speechless for a moment. Meng Liang was about to help explain, when suddenly, a car horn sounded. Everyone looked over and saw a red Ferrari SF90 speeding up and stopped beside Chun Mo. The car window was lowered, revealing Chu Runting's beautiful face. She shouted, Chun Mo. Su Mubai saw Chu Runting. His face suddenly changed, and he wondered, how does Chun Mo know her? The moment Chun Mo saw Chu Runting, he was completely stunned, his eyes full of disbelief. He thought he and Chu Runting had broken up completely, but he never thought that this beautiful woman would come to see him. The people around him, like Su Mubai and Meng Liang, were also dumbfounded. Who is this woman? She's so beautiful. She must be super rich to drive this luxury car. Is this Chun Mo's girlfriend? The students were talking among themselves. Meng Liang also stuttered and asked Chun Mo, Brother, don't tell me this is your online girlfriend? Chun Mo calmly replied, Yes, she's my girlfriend. This sentence was like a bomb that exploded in the crowd. Meng Liang reacted immediately. His eyes widened, and he shouted, No wonder you were so sad yesterday, now I understand. Chun Mo ignored Meng Liang and said to Su Mubai expressionlessly, Don't you want to see my girlfriend? Why are you here? When Chu Runting put on her black dress, the close-fitting material outlined her sexy and hot figure just right. With black stockings and high heels, her royal sister's aura was fully open. The people around suddenly realized that it was no wonder that Chun Mo could repeatedly reject the school beauty Su Mubai. With such a super rich girlfriend, who would look down on others. After Chu Runting got off the car, she walked towards Chun Mo. When she saw Su Mubai, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. How does this little girl know Chun Mo? She kept muttering in her heart. As for Su Mubai, looking at Chu Runting, the look in his eyes was so hot that he could spit fire. She didn't care who Chun Mo's girlfriend was, but she must not be Chu Runting. You know, the Chu family and the Su family are the two giants in the business field, and the competition is very fierce. Moreover, although Su Mubai is young, he is always compared with Chu Runting, and he has long been fed up with Chu Runting in his heart. What's more, they are both in love with the violin, and Chu Runting always beats Su Mubai in every competition. When they met at a high-end cocktail party, they were tit-for-tat and refused to give in. Who would have thought that they were now related to Chun Mo? Chun Mo, what a coincidence. You also know Sister Su? Chu Runting walked to Chun Mo's side and deliberately took his arm, pretending to be very close. Su Mubai was not happy with this and immediately fought back. Aunt Chu, we are more than 10 years apart. It's not appropriate for you to call me sister, right? Chun Mo secretly said that it was not good when he heard this. These two must know each other, and their relationship is not very good. Chu Runting was also not vague and directly retorted, Yes, there is a difference of more than 10 years, but our Chun Mo loves mature, sexy, and charming girls like me. And he is not interested in you, a yellow-haired girl. This made Su Mubai very angry. Which girl can tolerate others saying that she is not well-developed? Chun Mo secretly glanced at Su Mubai's figure and muttered in his heart, Actually, she is well-developed, but a little worse than Chu Runting. Of course, he didn't dare to say this out loud. Su Mubai was so angry that he jumped up and down. Who is in a hurry? Chu Runting was still relentless. Development is not something that can be rushed. Take your time. Then, Chu Runting took advantage of the victory and attacked. Su Mubai, don't bother our Chun Mo anymore. He's my boyfriend. No matter how much you try, it will be in vain. This move was so ruthless that even Chun Mo felt that Chu Runting was too harsh. Su Mubai was not to be outdone and tried to fight back. What if Chun Mo likes you now? 10 years later, you will be old and ugly. I am more charming and sexy than you. How can you be sure that Chun Mo will not change his mind? Chu Runting said lightly. Who can say for sure what will happen in 10 years? Maybe in 5 years. You will be old and ugly, and I can still be like this now. People who have experienced it tell you that women will get old and ugly. Do you have the confidence that you can still have my figure and face when you are my age? This attack directly beat Su Mubai speechless. Chu Runting's maintenance of her figure and skin is top-notch. People who don't know her can't guess that she is already 33. In this fight, Chu Runting won. Chun Mo knew that when it comes to quarreling, Chu Runting is the king, and Su Mubai is still too young. Meng Liang and his classmates were all stunned. Who could have thought that two extremely beautiful women would be jealous of each other for Chen Mo? Meng Liang couldn't help but sigh. When did Chen Mo become so charming? What good things did he do in his previous life to make these two beauties do this for him? Chen Mo was afraid that the two women would fight, so he hurriedly said to Chu Runting, "Sister Chu, let's go first." Chu Runting's face sank. "What did you call me?" Chen Mo wanted to cry, but had no tears, so he quickly changed his words. "Baby, let's go." Chu Runting was still not satisfied, and there was murderous intent in her eyes. Chen Mo had no choice but to add, "Dear baby, let's go." Chu Runting was satisfied and waved to Su Mubai, pulled Chen Mo into the car, stepped on the accelerator, and the Ferrari sped away. Meng Liang shouted from behind, "Chen Mo, are you still my brother? Just abandon me like this?" Then he turned to look at Su Mubai and said with a smile, "Miss Su, Chen Mo is taken, but I'm still single. You look so sad now, do you mind?" Su Mubai didn't give him a chance at all, and cursed directly, "Get away." After that, he got into a black Rolls Royce. After Chen Mo got in the car, Su Mubai's face was so cold that it could be frosted. In fact, she didn't have any real feelings for Chen Mo, and this confession was just a joke with her sister. She threatened to find a boy at Nanyang University to confess, and the other party would definitely agree immediately. As a result, she chose Chen Mo and was ruthlessly rejected. This aroused Su Mubai's competitive spirit. She didn't believe that she couldn't conquer Chen Mo, so she confessed one after another and was rejected again and again. This Miss Su has always been held in the palm of everyone's hand, and she has never suffered such humiliation. The more Chen Mo refused, the more she wanted to take Chen Mo down and then abandon him. But who would have thought that Chen Mo actually got together with her mortal enemy Chu Runting, which made Su Mubai very angry. She vented in the car, and her exquisite nails were deeply embedded in the leather seat, but she didn't know it at all. On the other side, Chen Mo was brought to a coffee shop by Chu Runting. Chen Mo ordered a cup of coffee and began to look at Chu Runting in front of him. It must be said that Chu Runting's face was well maintained. The years left almost no trace on her face. If it weren't for her sexy and mature figure and temperament, people would believe that she was 20 years old. Chen Mo asked with a smile, "Are you coming to me to officially break up?" Chu Runting responded softly, "Let me introduce myself first. I am the granddaughter of the chairman of the Chuha Group. I am 33 this year." When Chen Mo heard this, he thought to himself that the Chuha Group was a giant enterprise in Nanyang City, so he wondered, "The daughter of the Chuha Group? I am marrying up. Why don't you go to work in the group, but collect rent here?" Chu Runting explained with a smile, 5 years ago, my grandfather arranged a blind date for me, but I refused. In a fit of anger, my grandfather stopped my pocket money, and I ran away from home. I bought that building secretly before, so I became a landlady." Chen Mo then asked, "You don't accept transfers, only cash. Are you afraid that your family will find out?" Chu Runting nodded and said yes. "You are very smart. My family has been monitoring my bank card. I can't accept transfers, and I don't want to add a bunch of messy people on WeChat." Chen Mo didn't say anything, so Chu Runting got to the point. 5 months ago, my father fell ill, and my grandfather wanted me to return to Chua Group to take over my father's position. But the prerequisite was that I had to find a boyfriend, otherwise the position would have to be taken over by someone else in the family. I thought that I would have to return to the group sooner or later anyway. So instead of letting my family arrange a blind date, I might as well find someone I like. Then we met. Chun Mo took a sip of coffee and said, and then there were the following things. Chu Runting also took a sip, frowned, and said, "Yes, I admit that I have a good impression of you, but I didn't expect you to be so young. I found a boyfriend to deal with my grandfather. How can I take you to meet him at your age?" Chun Mo understood a little after hearing this, and said, "It doesn't matter. You can still find another one now." Chu Runting smiled, squinted her eyes, and asked, "Chun Mo, do you dislike your aunt's old age?" Chun Mo quickly shook his head. "No." Chu Runting asked again, "Then why do you keep calling me aunt?" Chun Mo scratched his head awkwardly, thinking that with Chu Runting's appearance, even if she was really old, no one would despise her for the sake of her money. So he said, "That's just a respectful title." Chu Runting suddenly said, "Since you don't despise me, then I won't despise you for being young either. Let's be together." Chun Mo was stunned and said in surprise, "Annie, don't joke with me." Chu Runting said seriously, "Who is kidding me? I thought about you all night last night and have feelings for you." I'm just worried about the age difference, but I'm confident that I won't lose to those little girls. More importantly, I urgently need someone to help me deal with my grandfather. Chun Mo was stunned again and asked, Then don't you despise me for being poor? Chu Runting smiled charmingly. If you don't despise me for being old, then I naturally don't despise you for being poor. Money is nothing to me. Chun Mo looked at Chu Runting, and his heart was so excited. Which man could refuse such a beautiful, sexy, and rich aunt? So he said without hesitation, Agree. Chu Runting shouted happily. Okay, let's go now. I'll take you to my house. Chun Mo was stunned again and said, Go now? That's too sudden. I'm not ready yet. Chu Runting didn't care and dragged Chun Mo out of the coffee shop. Chun Mo never expected Chu Runting to be so anxious. She wanted to take him to meet her parents just after they confirmed their relationship. Isn't this too hasty? Chun Mo asked. Do I need to prepare anything when I go to your house? Chu Runting said nonchalantly. No need to prepare anything. Just come with me. She didn't expect her parents to like Chun Mo. Bringing him here was just a formality. The key was to deal with her grandfather. After all, only with her grandfather's nod could she return to the Chu family company. Chu Runting also reminded him, Don't be nervous. I'll help you deal with everything when you get to my house. I don't expect my parents to approve of you. Don't have any psychological pressure. Chun Mo joked. What if your parents like me? Chu Runting shook her head without hesitation. Absolutely impossible. Chun Mo did not meet her parents' requirements in terms of age, family background, education, and work unless there was a miracle. More than half an hour later, Chu Runting parked the car in front of a 3-story villa and walked in with Chun Mo. Chu Runting's mother Wang Xia saw her daughter coming back and greeted her with a smile. But when her eyes fell on Chun Mo, her smile immediately became stiff. Chu Runting introduced intimately. Mom, this is my boyfriend Chun Mo. Chun Mo greeted politely, but Wang Xia was lukewarm and said that she brought a friend home without telling him in advance and had not prepared anything. Chun Mo knew in his heart that Wang Xia deliberately used the word friend to express her attitude. After all, Wang Xia came from a wealthy family and had extremely high cultivation. It was good that she didn't lose her temper on the spot. If it were someone else, Chun Mo might have been kicked out long ago. Seeing this, Chu Runting hurriedly expressed her attitude and pulled Chun Mo to walk into the villa. Just then, a voice came from the door. Everyone turned their heads and saw a handsome young man in a white suit walking in with a lot of gifts. When Chu Runting saw him, a trace of disgust flashed in her eyes. Chun Mo knew in his heart that this was probably Chu Runting's pursuer Li Haoyu. When Wang Xia saw Li Haoyu, her face was immediately filled with smiles, and she greeted him enthusiastically. Li Haoyu handed the cosmetics to Wang Xia and did not forget to glance at Chun Mo's empty hands. Chu Runting's father, Chu Hongxin, also came down from the study on the second floor. Chun Mo hurriedly introduced himself. After hearing this, Li Haoyu subconsciously clenched his fists, but still had a smile on his face. Chu Hongxin looked at Chun Mo, acted very calmly, and asked everyone to sit down. Li Haoyu was the first to ask Chun Mo, Friend, you look young. You are still in school, right? Chun Mo nodded and said that he was studying at Nanyang University. Li Haoyu smiled proudly and said, Still studying? What are your plans after graduation? If you can't find a suitable place to work, you can come to my company. Although my company has requirements for academic qualifications, students from Nanyang University are generally not hired, but for Tingting's sake, I can make an exception. Chu Runting was unhappy when she heard it, and directly retorted, You don't have to worry about where my boyfriend will work after graduation. Our Chu family is big, and it's easy to arrange a job for Chun Mo. Wang Xia quickly came out to smooth things over, saying that Li Haoyu was kind-hearted. After all, it is difficult for college students to find jobs. Chun Mo calmly said that he had plans, and Li Haoyu didn't need to worry. Seeing that Chu Runting was in a bad mood, Li Haoyu changed the subject and said that he brought good things for Chu Hongxin. Li Haoyu stood up and brought back a beautifully packaged painting and calligraphy, saying it was an authentic work of Wang Shiji. Chu Hongxin's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he quickly took it and carefully placed it on the coffee table and opened it. After seeing the words, Chu Hongxin praised it highly. Li Haoyu did not forget to tease Chun Mo. Brother Chun, you're lucky today. With the help of Uncle Chu, you can see the authentic work of Wang Shiji. This is enough for you to brag about for a while. Chun Mo took a leisurely look at the painting and calligraphy, then looked at Li Haoyu and said calmly, This calligraphy is well written, with 1/3 of Wang Shiji's skills. Li Haoyu laughed when he heard it, saying that this was the authentic work of Wang Shiji, and laughed at Chen Mo for pretending to know. Chen Mo said slowly, "Your painting is fake, but it is rare for someone who copies it to have such skills." As soon as these words came out, the smile on Li Haoyu's face froze instantly. When Li Haoyu heard Chen Mo say that the calligraphy was copied, he immediately got angry and questioned Chen Mo, "How dare you say that my calligraphy is copied? Do you understand calligraphy and painting? You are talking nonsense here." You know, he spent a lot of money to ask his friends to buy this calligraphy just to please Chu Hongxin. He knew that Chu Runting didn't like him, so he wanted to make a breakthrough with her parents. Now that Chen Mo said that the calligraphy was fake, how could he not be anxious? Chu Hongxin was also surprised and asked Chen Mo, "Do you also understand calligraphy and painting?" Chen Mo said calmly, "When I was a child, my father liked to collect calligraphy and painting. I followed him and learned a little bit." Chu Hongxin became interested and asked Chen Mo to explain why he judged that it was copied. Chen Mo analyzed clearly. The counterfeit paper can be indistinguishable from the real thing. We have to judge from the font itself. The 7 rand characters in this character are too soft and graceful, and the imitator's brushstrokes are not as majestic as Wang Shiji's characters, but the other characters are somewhat similar. Li Haoyu was stunned. He thought Chen Mo was talking nonsense, but he didn't expect that he was talking so well, and Chu Hongxin nodded frequently. Li Haoyu was still not giving up and argued, "It's too hasty to judge the authenticity based on just one character. You are not an expert." Chen Mo smiled slightly. "Brother Li, it's not a problem with one character. It's that this character lacks Wang Shiji's unique artistic conception. You don't like calligraphy, so you naturally can't see it." Chu Hongxin slapped his thigh excitedly. "Yes, it's the artistic conception. I also felt that something was missing at the beginning." Li Haoyu was so embarrassed. How could he understand artistic conception? Chu Hongxin asked Li Haoyu to take the characters back, which was equivalent to declaring that the characters were fake. Chu Hongxin turned to ask Chen Mo, "Your name is Chen Mo, right?" Chen Mo nodded. Chu Hongxin praised, "I didn't expect you to know so much about calligraphy at such a young age. There are not many young people who know calligraphy and painting now." "Not bad." Chu Runting was very happy beside him. She didn't expect Chen Mo to have this ability. Seeing this, Wang Xia tried to smooth things over and said, "It's normal for Haoyu to be cheated because he doesn't know calligraphy. His kindness is precious. The meal is ready. Let's eat first." Chen Mo stood up and didn't forget to tease Li Haoyu. "Brother Li, there are many ways to calligraphy. Don't spend money recklessly and be a fool." Li Haoyu was very angry, but he couldn't get angry in front of everyone. Chu Runting happily took Chen Mo's arm and walked towards the restaurant and said, "You just performed well. I'll give you 10 points." Chen Mo hurriedly asked, "What are the benefits of 10 points?" Chu Runting smiled and said, "Free half a month's rent." Chen Mo was speechless. During the meal, Chu Hongxin took the initiative to talk to Chen Mo about calligraphy. The two had a great time talking and felt that they had met too late. Chu Hongxin did not expect that Chen Mo had such unique insights into calligraphy at the age of 20, and there were many things he did not know. Li Haoyu stared blankly, unable to say anything, and could only eat his food in silence. He felt like an outsider and regretted it. He thought that he should not have rushed to get the calligraphy out, but instead created an opportunity for Chen Mo to show his face. Wang Xia saw it and said after the meal, "Haoyu, Annie hasn't heard you play the piano for a long time. Take this opportunity to play a song." When Li Haoyu heard it, he almost knelt down to Wang Xia and understood that this was an opportunity for him to show himself. It turned out that Wang Xia liked the piano. Li Haoyu had a very high attainment in piano and won many domestic awards. Later, he did not continue to pursue an artistic path because he inherited the family business. Chu Runting muttered softly, "I really don't understand why my mother likes the piano so much. I prefer the violin and cello in classical music." Li Haoyu walked to the piano, took off his coat, stretched his fingers, and began to play. After a few seconds, the melodious Memories of Norma sounded. Chen Mo immediately said, "It's Liszt's Memories of Norma." At this moment, Wang Xia, Chu Hongxin, and Chu Runting were all stunned. Chu Hongxin asked in surprise, "Xiao Chun, do you know piano music?" Chen Mo smiled and replied, "I learned from my mother for a while when I was a child. This piece of music is not difficult. Brother Li plays it well." Wang Xia was unhappy and frowned and said, "This piece of music is famous for its difficulty all over the world. There are not many people in the country who can play it completely. But when you say it, it's not difficult. I'm curious if you really know piano. Chunmo's favorability with Chu Hongshin is rising. But in the eyes of Chu Runting's mother Wang Xia, Chunmo is still not worthy of her daughter. After all, calligraphy is just a hobby and cannot be used as a meal, and Li Haoyu is extremely compatible with Chu Runting in terms of education, family background, ability, age, etc. The song played by Li Haoyu is very difficult, and many professional pianists can't play it to that effect, but Chunmo said that the difficulty is okay. In the eyes of Wang Xia, a piano fan, Chunmo is just showing off, so her tone of voice is naturally impolite. Chunmo didn't refute it. A few minutes later, Li Haoyu finished playing and breathed a sigh of relief. He chose this difficult piece just to win back a point in front of Chu Runting's parents. Wang Xia and Chu Hongshin applauded, and even Chu Runting, who didn't like piano very much, secretly praised the song. Wang Xia happily praised Li Haoyu. Haoyu, you haven't played for so long, but your level has improved. If you continue to develop in the piano world, you will definitely be a top pianist in the country in less than 5 years. Li Haoyu responded with a smile, and Chu Hongshin also nodded and said that playing the piano more is good for the body and mind. Li Haoyu said to Chun Mo proudly, "Brother Chun, I'm afraid you haven't played the piano before. If you're interested, come to me to learn in the future." Wang Xia said, "Chun Mo, you just said that you learned from your mother for a few years. Why don't you play a song too?" Chu Runting hurriedly helped Chun Mo refuse, thinking that this was not to let him show off, but to embarrass himself. Chun Mo performed well today, so don't ruin his good impression. But Wang Xia was relentless and wanted to expose Chun Mo's lack of piano skills. Chu Runting was helpless, and Chun Mo stood up after hesitating. "Okay, and Wang asked me to try, so I will show my ugly side." Wang Xia and Li Haoyu were secretly happy, but Chu Runting was wondering in her heart, could it be that Chunmo really could play the piano? Chunmo walked to the piano and sat down, his fingers placed on the keys. The scene of practicing the piano in his childhood instantly came to his mind. The little boy who cried and didn't want to practice the piano, his mother is no longer here. The melodious piano sounded like the most beautiful melody floating in the air. Li Haoyu and Wang Xia's originally disdainful eyes gradually turned into confusion. Li Haoyu wondered, what song is Chunmo playing? Why haven't I heard it before? Wang Xia also frowned. I seem to have heard it somewhere, but I can't remember it for a while. Chu Runting was impatient. You two, don't say anything, just listen carefully. The room became quiet, leaving only the melodious piano sound. The piano sound seemed to have magic, affecting everyone's emotions. Wang Xia's eyes were suddenly shocked, and she looked at Chun Mo in disbelief. She seemed to remember where she had heard it before. A few minutes later, the piano music stopped. Chu Runting seemed to be still immersed in it. Although she didn't understand the difficulty of the song, she felt that Chunmo's was more moving than Li Haoyu's. Li Haoyu was surprised. He didn't expect Chunmo to play so well. Wang Xia was the most excited. She walked quickly to Chunmo and said, "Chunmo, where did you learn this song?" Chunmo replied, "My mother taught me. It's called Nian." Wang Xia shouted, "Nonsense." Chu Runting was puzzled. "Mom, what's wrong with you?" Chu Hongshin was also puzzled. Wang Xia was always able to control her emotions. Wang Xia said excitedly, "This song is Nian. It is the work of Yang Xiaonian. She only played it once, which was the closing performance when she retired from the piano world." It turned out that Wang Xia regarded Yang Xiaonian as an idol and often listened to her songs. How could Wang Xia not be excited when Chun Mo played this masterpiece? Li Haoyu was also amazed. Yang Xiaonian was a rare genius pianist in a century. Her works had a very high status in the piano world. Unfortunately, she retired later. Chunmo looked up at Wang Xia and whispered, "It's been a while since anyone called my mother's name." Wang Xia took 2 steps back in shock. "What did you say?" Chunmo explained, "Annie, the song was taught by my mother. My mother is Yang Xiaonian." Wang Xia was dumbfounded and didn't know what to feel. Chu Hongshin didn't believe it either and asked, "You said your father is Chun Nantian?" Chunmo answered without hesitation. Chu Hongshin also stood there in shock, no less than Wang Xia. When Chu Hongshin and Wang Xia learned about the identities of Chun Mo's parents, their expressions were very complicated. Chu Runting also looked at Chun Mo in disbelief, wondering in her heart, could this boyfriend who she just found on the internet have some amazing background? If so, it would be much easier to deal with Grandpa. After all, Chun Mo is excellent in all aspects, but his family background is a shortcoming. Li Haoyu began to panic and fidget. He thought Chun Mo was just a poor boy, and he could suppress him in all aspects, but he couldn't compare with him in calligraphy and piano. Could it be that even his family background was inferior? Wang Xia's tone towards Chun Mo suddenly changed 180 degrees, and she said, I didn't expect you to be Yang Xionyin's son. You inherited all the piano talent. Chun Mo looked up and asked, Annie, do you know my mother? Wang Xia replied, Not really. I just regard her as an idol. Unfortunately, she has too few works, and she retired from the piano world to marry your father. Chu Hongxin also said, Your father is equally good. Then he praised Chun Mo, Your father is a business genius. In 10 years, he turned the Chun Group from a small factory that was about to go bankrupt into the largest business group in Shiping City, with a market value of over 10 billion. His deeds can be written into economics textbooks. It's a pity that God is jealous of talents. Otherwise, the pattern of Jiangnan province would have to change. Chu Runting was shocked when she heard it. It was not easy to get Chu Hongxin to praise him like this. After all, Chu Hongxin himself was also a business genius. Li Haoyu was embarrassed. He blinked his eyes and didn't know what to say or do. He felt that he was even more redundant than when he was eating. Wang Xia asked curiously, Chun Mo, you are Chun Nanshan's son. Why don't you stay at the Chun family in Shiping City, but come to Nanyang City to attend university? Chun Mo told the truth. I was driven out by the Chun family. Wang Xia's face changed slightly, and she kept silent. Chu Hongxin snorted. The Chun family is really interesting. Your father built the family business, but he drove you away as soon as he died. Chu Runting rolled her eyes at Chun Mo, thinking, Why are you bringing this up? Aren't all your previous efforts in vain? Chun Mo was quite calm. Some people only look at the immediate benefits. Chu Hongxin suddenly said, Chun Mo, I didn't agree with you dating my daughter at first, but after getting to know her, I understand that a good father will have a good son. Chu Runting asked excitedly, Dad, do you agree that we can be together? Li Haoyu still struggled. Uncle Chu, isn't this too hasty? Chu Runting immediately retorted, What does my family affairs have to do with you? Li Haoyu was so aggrieved. He had been chasing her for several years. How could it have nothing to do with her? Chu Hongxin waved his hand and said to Chun Mo, I agree that you two are dating, but there are conditions. First, Tingting's grandfather will return to China in a month, and you have to get his approval. This is related to whether Tingting can return to the Chu group. Chun Mo quickly responded, I will try my best. Chu Hongxin said again, Second, if you get the approval of your grandfather, you can officially date, but if you want to get married, you have to take back the Chun group. Chu Runting was anxious. Dad, isn't this embarrassing for him? He was kicked out of the Chun family and is still a student. How could he get it back? Li Haoyu was inexplicably excited and felt that he had hope. Chu Hongxin asked Chu Runting, Why did I agree to you two being together? It's not because he knows calligraphy and piano. I want to see if he has the ability to take care of you for the rest of your life. His father was able to found the Chun group, so why can't he take it back? Chu Runting was speechless. I will be over 40 in 10 years. Wang Xiao was calm. My daughter will be wanted by many men, even at 50. Li Haoyu nodded quickly. I won't mind even at 50. Chu Runting looked at him with disgust. I won't marry you even at 80. Chu Hongxin said to Chun Mo earnestly. This is a demanding request, but the Chu family is a big family. If you don't have the ability to marry my daughter, you will not be able to hold your head up and be regarded as a phoenix man. Chun Mo agreed without hesitation. I agree. Chu Hongxin said again. I will help you get started. But Chun Mo refused. I will take back the Chun group by myself. This time, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Chun Mo to be so strong-willed. Chu Runting shouted anxiously. What do you think? How can you get it back if you can't even pay the rent? Rely on your mouth? I can't wait. Chun Mo said firmly. I want to rely on myself. Chu Runting was so angry that she couldn't speak. After a few seconds of silence, Chu Hongxin sighed. It's true that a tiger father will have a dog son. At Chu Running's house, Chun Mo was so straightforward that he agreed to Chu Hongxin's two requests directly, and even refused Chu Hongxin's help. Chu Hongxin smiled and said, Okay, since you are so confident, I won't interfere. If you meet the requirements, you can get married. After Chun Mo responded politely, he looked at the time and stood up to say goodbye. Chu Hongxin asked Chu Runting to see him off, which showed his obvious attitude. Chu Running took the car keys and pulled Chun Mo out. Wang Xia did not forget to remind him to come back early, and Chu Runting agreed without looking back. After they left, Chu Hongxin sighed and saw that Li Haoyu was still there, so he asked him to go back. Li Haoyu was so anxious that he almost cried and asked what to do. Chu Hongxin helplessly said to find a more suitable one. Li Haoyu still didn't give up and asked Chu Hongxin to give him conditions. Chu Hongxin was stunned. This question was too stupid. Wang Xia also persuaded him. Li Haoyu gritted his teeth and left, feeling that the sky had fallen. Chu Hongxin sighed that Chen Mo was smart, but Wang Xia calmly said that if Chen Mo could not see through his thoughts, he was not worthy of his daughter. It turned out that Chu Hongxin agreed to their relationship, not because of calligraphy and piano, nor because of Chen Mo's poor status, but because he wanted the Chu family to have an excuse to use resources to swallow up the Chen group. Without Chen Nantian, the Chen group would be the fat meat that everyone coveted, and they just lacked a reason to take action. Chen Mo was not stupid either. He saw through this thought and was determined to take back the group by himself, so that he could truly be the master of the family. On the other side, Chu Runting and Chen Mo got in a Ferrari and went back to Chen Mo's rental house. Chen Mo asked proudly while driving, "How did I perform today?" Chu Runting was in a good mood and joked that she thought it was good enough not to be kicked out by her parents, but she didn't expect him to be so capable. As for Chen Mo, his attention was all on Chu Runting's beautiful legs, and he asked for a reward. Chu Runting said that she would waive 1 month's rent, but Chen Mo was not happy about it. He shouted that this was not possible and threatened that the relationship might end. Chu Runting asked coquettishly if they were willing to break up, and Chen Mo said it depends on her performance. Chu Runting asked how she performed, and Chen Mo hinted at what lovers should do. Chu Runting said that she would be rewarded when she got home, and Chen Mo stepped on the accelerator as if he had been injected with chicken blood. 10 minutes later, they arrived at the gate of the community. Chen Mo couldn't wait to pull Chu Runting upstairs, but Chu Runting said she couldn't go upstairs, so he rewarded her here. Chen Mo wanted to suggest going to the Grove, but before he finished speaking, Chu Runting hugged him. Chen Mo was disappointed that the reward was just a hug, so he didn't want to miss the opportunity. He hugged Chu Runting's waist and kissed her. Chu Runting was stunned and struggled desperately, but was still kissed. This time, Chu Runting was like being electrocuted, and she froze in place. Her first kiss was gone. After reacting, Chu Runting stepped hard on Chen Mo's instep with her high heels, and Chen Mo screamed throughout the community. After hearing Chen Mo's scream, Chu Runting smiled charmingly and pushed him away. Chen Mo's eyes widened, and he shouted, "It was just a kiss. Why do you have to be so cruel?" Chu Runting responded domineeringly, "You stole my first kiss. You're too polite if you didn't castrate me. I'm leaving." She also reminded Chen Mo not to hook up with other women, especially Su Mubai, and even asked Chen Mo to delete Su Mubai's contact information. Chen Mo had no choice but to do so, and Chu Runting left with satisfaction. Chen Mo went back to his rental house, took a shower, and lay on the bed. He felt like he was dreaming. He became the boyfriend of the landlord and was thinking about how to take back the Chen group. At this time, the doorbell rang. He opened the door and saw Wang Miao Miao. This beautiful woman was wearing a white cartoon t-shirt, denim shorts showing off her slender legs, and pink slippers. Wang Miao Miao asked Chen Mo where he was. She said that she had stewed pork rib soup and sent it to him. She had to go to bed early because she had to meet a client tomorrow. Chen Mo was very touched. This was not the first time he had sent food. If it weren't for Chu Runting, he might have had a story with this neighbor's sister. Chen Mo drank some soup, chatted with Chu Runting for a few words, and then went to sleep. At 9 o'clock the next morning, Chen Mo went to Nanyang University for classes. He had excellent grades and used scholarships and grants to save time to study stocks, so he didn't take a part-time job. After a day of classes, he wanted to go home to study stocks. Yesterday, he borrowed Chu Runting's securities account and planned to make his first pot of gold from stocks. At this time, the class monitor Su Jiao stopped him. Su Jiao was wearing a white long dress and looked beautiful. Su Jiao said that it was her birthday today, and her boyfriend booked a private room at the YR bar and invited Chen Mo to join. Chen Mo wondered why he invited himself, since he had an average relationship with Su Jiao. Seeing that he was hesitant, Su Jiao said that he could just go, no gifts were needed, and asked him not to be late at 7 o'clock. Chen Mo nodded and left. Because he had to attend a party in the evening, Chen Mo did not go home. He went to the library and bought 2 stocks that he was optimistic about using Chu Running's account, investing 500,000 yuan in each. Although he did not want to be a gigolo, he had no choice but to do so without startup capital. After finishing, he took a taxi to YR Bar, which is the top nightclub in Nanyang City. It is a membership-based bar. The boss is very influential, and the second-generation rich dare not make trouble. When Chinemo arrived at the door of the bar, he saw Su Jiao chatting with her boyfriend Su Yang. Su Jiao greeted them warmly, but Su Yang was very indifferent. After Su Jiao introduced the two to each other, she took Chinemo into the bar. There were many guests inside, all of whom were second-generation rich. The female companions were more beautiful than each other, and Chinemo was very satisfied. Then he went into the private room, where there were more than 10 people, half men and half women. Chinemo only knew Su Mubai. When he saw Su Mubai, Chinemo took a deep breath and instantly understood why Su Jiao invited him. Su Mubai looked up at him with a calm and indifferent look. Chinemo couldn't understand why the school beauty, Su Mubai, couldn't find a boyfriend. So why did she have to pester him? Chinemo stepped into the bar and saw Su Mubai at first sight. She looked so eye-catching. Su Mubai was wearing a black short skirt with a delicate belt around her waist, which outlined her slender waist just right. She had proud breasts, white legs without stockings, and an attractive luster. She wore black high-heeled sandals, and her makeup was a little heavier than when she was in school, which made her look more sexy and charming. The bar was very lively, with people singing and playing games. When Chinemo came in, few people paid attention to him. After all, no one knew him. He hesitated for a moment and sat down at the edge of the sofa. Su Mubai saw Chinemo sitting down and walked over with long legs. The girl next to him quickly stood up and gave her a seat. Su Mubai sat down next to Chinemo elegantly. Chinemo took the initiative to talk. What a coincidence, you are also here to attend Su Jiao's birthday party. But Su Mubai responded coldly. Su Jiao is my best friend. You were not invited. I asked her to ask you to come. This attitude made Chinemo look like her pursuer. Chinemo was stunned and asked, Then why did you ask me to come? Su Mubai said angrily. Why did you delete my WeChat? Chinemo explained awkwardly. Did I delete it? Maybe my cat accidentally touched it. Su Mubai directly exposed. Did Chu Runting ask you to delete it? Chinemo had no choice but to add her back as a friend. I thought the matter was over, but Su Mubai continued. Break up with Chu Runting and be with me. Chinemo was shocked and shook his head quickly. Don't joke, I have a good relationship with my girlfriend, and we won't break up because of your words. He felt that Su Mubai had a cold personality, and if he married her, he would probably not let her touch him, and he already had feelings for Chu Runting. Su Mubai asked him to listen to what he said first, and then dropped a bombshell. If you are with me, I can meet any of your conditions. My mother is a member of the school board of directors, and can make it easy for you to get all the scholarships, be recommended to graduate school, and give you a lot of money to start a company after graduation, as long as you break up with Chu Runting. This condition is super tempting for a male college student, but Chun Mo is unmoved. Although what you said is tempting, Chu Runting is more important in my heart, and I will not break up. He found out that it was not a honey trap, and he felt a little disappointed. Su Mubai continued to persuade. There is no future for you and Chu Runting, so don't dream of marrying her and becoming the son-in-law of the Chu family. She can't even get into their own company. What can she give you? Chun Mo responded seriously. I haven't thought about these. I just want to be with her. Her family background has nothing to do with me, and I don't expect to get anything from the Chu family. Su Mubai couldn't understand why he was inferior to Chu Runting. Although he was far superior in all aspects, he was at least comparable to her, and he was so proactive, but Chun Mo didn't move at all. Just when the two were in a stalemate, Su Jiao and her boyfriend Su Yang came in with a handsome young man. The young man was dressed in white casual clothes and looked handsome. When he appeared, the music stopped abruptly and everyone surrounded him. Young Master Wang. Why are you here? I didn't expect young Master Wang to come to Jiao Jiao's birthday party. Young Master Wang Yubin was surrounded by everyone, like a star surrounded by a moon. However, Su Mubai sat firmly on the sofa and had no intention of saying hello. After Wang Yubin exchanged a few words with everyone, he signaled everyone to disperse. Everyone also understood that he came for Su Mubai. Wang Yubin smiled and walked towards Su Mubai. Mubai, long time no see. Su Mubai still responded coldly. Wang Yubin turned his eyes to Chun Mo and asked with a smile, Mubai, this little brother doesn't look familiar. Is he your friend? Su Mubai said coldly that he was not a friend. Su Jiao quickly introduced him as Chun Mo, a classmate. When Wang Yubin heard Chun Mo's name, his eyes became strange and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Wang Yubin is very familiar with the name Chinemo recently. He has been hearing people say that Su Mubai pursued Chinemo and confessed his love in public, but was rejected. He was curious about Chinmo's background, but when he met him, he felt that there was nothing special about him. Although Wang Yubin felt disgusted, he still greeted him in a friendly manner. "Hello, friend. I am Wang Yubin, a friend of Jiao Jiao and Mubai." Chinemo nodded in response. Wang Yubin sat down next to Chinemo. Chinemo understood what was going on immediately, but he didn't care. He had no intention of being with Su Mubai, and Wang Yubin was not a love rival. At this time, Su Yang came over and said with a smile, "Thank you, Mr. Wang, for booking this private room with your membership card. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the chance to come." The membership system of YR Bar is very strict. You have to have money to get a membership card. Only Su Mubai and Wang Yubin have the lowest level silver card. Wang Yubin smiled and said it was a small matter. A young man curiously asked the bar owner about his ability. Wang Yubin explained, "Last time someone offended the son of the richest man in Nanyang City, Mr. Li didn't dare to make trouble in the bar. He took him outside and then did it. Do you understand?" Everyone was talking about it. Wang Yubin glanced at Chunemo. "Brother Chen, if you bring friends to play, you can borrow a card from me." Chinemo knew that this guy was pretending to be cool, so he said, "It's troublesome to borrow money from time to time. Mr. Wang, help me get a card so that it will be convenient in the future." Everyone laughed, and Su Yang shook his head, thinking that Chinemo was ignorant. This card is not something that can be issued at will. Wang Yubin also felt that Chinemo was not a threat, and explained, "Brother Chen, the family background needs to be strictly examined to apply for the card, and it is difficult for ordinary people to pass." Chun Mo counterattacked. "Didn't you just say that you are very capable and you can't do such a small thing?" When this was said, everyone was dumbfounded. Su Yang changed color, and Wang Yubin was stunned. Only to realize that he was mocked by Chun Mo, Su Mubai was also surprised at how quickly Chun Mo counterattacked. Wang Yubin said, "I really can't do it, and I'm afraid no one in the entire Jiangnan province can do it." Chun Mo smiled and said, "Mr. Wang, don't be so sure. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean that others can't do it." Wang Yubin glared at him. At this time, a girl noticed something was wrong and shouted to sing a birthday song for Su Jiao and cut the cake. Everyone gathered around Su Jiao, and Su Mubai said to Chen Mo, "You don't have to confront Wang Yubin." Chen Mo replied, "He mocked me first, and I hate people who pretend to be cool." Su Mubai was stunned and stopped talking. After singing the song and cutting the cake, Chen Mo felt that there was no need to stay, so he said goodbye to Su Jiao and prepared to leave. Sumubai testin mo, an guan jubing test sumubai. Chen Mo passed by a private room and saw through the crack in the door a middle-aged man putting powder into a wine glass. He frowned but didn't want to do anything. This is common in bars. Just as he was about to move forward, he saw a familiar figure. It was Wang Miao Miao from next door. Chapter 13. You dare to cause trouble here? Chun Mo is a person who doesn't like to meddle in other people's affairs. Chun Mo would definitely sneer at such a dirty thing as someone drugging a woman in a bar. But it was impossible for Chun Mo to get into unnecessary trouble because of a strange woman. However, when Chun Mo saw Wang Miao Miao in the box, the expression on his face changed significantly. When Wang Miao Miao brought him pork rib soup last night, she mentioned that she was going to meet a very important client today. Moreover, Wang Miao Miao is a girl who is definitely outstanding in both figure and appearance. It is not impossible that the other party drugged Wang Miao Miao. After hesitating for a moment, Chen Mo did not choose to continue moving forward, but stood at the door of the box and observed the situation inside through the gap in the box. "Ms. Wang, let's have a drink to celebrate our happy cooperation in the future." The middle-aged man walked up to Wang Miao Miao with two wine glasses, and one of the glasses was the one he had drugged just now. Wang Miao Miao is actually a very smart girl. Even when meeting clients outside, she always refuses to drink a single sip of alcohol, using the excuse of taking medicine. But when the middle-aged man opposite her agreed to cooperate, a hint of excitement flashed in her beautiful eyes. As long as she can complete this project, she can get a sales commission of 50,000 to 60,000 yuan. This money is very important for Wang Miao Miao, who has just started working. "Mr. Zhang, you mean we can sign the contract, right?" Wang Miao Miao quickly asked the middle-aged man in front of her. After hearing this, the middle-aged man smiled faintly and said softly, "As long as you drink this glass of wine, we will sign the contract right away." "That's really great." Wang Miao Miao took the wine glass handed to her by the middle-aged man, then raised her head and was about to drink the wine in the glass. The middle-aged man stared at Wang Miao Miao. He knew that as long as Wang Miao Miao drank the glass of wine, he would be able to marry the beauty tonight. Looking at Wang Miao Miao's graceful figure and delicate face, the middle-aged man's eyes became more and more excited. However, just when Wang Miao Miao's lips were about to touch the wine glass, a man suddenly rushed into the box, then stretched out his hand and grabbed Wang Miao Miao's wrist. Wang Miao Miao was stunned, and so was the middle-aged man. Chen Montak, why are you here? Wang Miao Miao asked Chen Mo in surprise. You can't drink this glass of wine. Someone put drugs in it. Chen Mo whispered to Wang Miao Miao. At this time, Su Mubai and Wang Yubin also walked to the door of the box. After seeing Chen Mo rushing in, Su Mubai did not choose to continue walking forward, but stood there and frowned at Chen Mo. What nonsense are you talking about? Someone put drugs in this wine. Yes, this is the YR bar. Who dares to put drugs in this bar? The other people in the box shouted loudly at Chen Mo. The expression on Mr. Zhang's face was a little ugly. Chen Mo was in no mood to deal with the people in the box. He grabbed Wang Miao Miao's wrist and said, "Leave here with me." Mr. Zhang was not in a good mood because the cooked duck just flew away. Chen Mo actually wanted to take Wang Miao Miao away directly at this time, and the expression on his face naturally became even uglier. Young man, are you here to cause trouble on purpose? You came in and first said someone had drugged the wine, and now you want to take Miss Wang away directly. What are you doing? Mr. Zhang glared at Chen Mo and shouted. Yes, Chen Mo, these people are my clients. Wang Miao Miao didn't understand what was going on, so she explained softly to Chen Mo, naively thinking that it might all be a misunderstanding. Sister Miao Miao, I saw with my own eyes that someone drugged you in this glass of wine just now, and it was him. Chen Mo pointed at Mr. Zhang, who was blocking his way. Young man, what evidence do you have that I put drugs in this glass of wine? You must give me an explanation today. Otherwise, we will have a good talk outside. Mr. Zhang instantly became furious and shouted loudly. Everyone in the box stood up instantly. But these people had no intention of taking action because they did not have the courage to do so in the YR bar. I didn't intend to argue with you, after all. I'm not a policeman, but now that you've said this. Chen Mo reached out and snatched the wine glass from Wang Miao Miao's hand, then said to Mr. Zhang, Don't you want an explanation? Come on, drink this glass of wine for me now, and you will get the explanation you want. Mr. Zhang was stunned when he looked at Chen Mo. He never expected that Chen Mo would actually let him drink the glass of wine. He knew better than anyone what would happen if he drank this glass of wine. I didn't expect that Chen Mo has such a strong sense of justice. Wang Yubin watched everything that happened in the box with a smile. But Su Mubai didn't say anything. Why should I drink just because you asked me to? Who do you think you are? Are you here to cause trouble on purpose? Mr. Zhang took a deep breath and frowned before asking Chen Mo. Don't say these useless nonsense to me. I want you to drink this glass of wine now. Don't you understand what I mean? Chen Mo repeated in a cold voice. His idea at this moment was very simple. If he couldn't prove that there was really medicine in the glass of wine, he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly to Wang Miao Miao. Even if the matter got out of hand, he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly to the police. So the easiest way is to let the man drink the wine. Boy, I think you really don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. Come on, it's not convenient to talk here. Let's go out and have a good chat. Several other people in the box surrounded Chen Mo. One of the bald men reached out and tried to pull Chen Mo outside. Because they knew that if they started a fight here, it would be tantamount to offending the boss behind the YR bar, and they didn't have the courage to do that. When Chen Mo saw the bald man's hand reaching out, he grabbed the bald man's wrist without any hesitation, picked up the red wine bottle on the table, and smashed it on the bald man's head. Chen Mo has been learning martial arts from his master since he was a child. Although he looks thin, in fact, if he really fights, 10 adults are no match for him. Chen Mo actually dared to beat someone up in a bar? Wang Yubin's eyes widened instantly after seeing this scene. Because everyone in Nanyang City knows that once a fight breaks out in this bar, no one can leave without a fight. Even the son of the richest man in Nanyang City doesn't dare to take action here. Su Mubai frowned slightly, and his expression looked a little ugly. Because she also knew what would happen if someone caused trouble in this bar. Boy, are you crazy? You actually took action here. Mr. Zhang also shouted at Chen Mo at the top of his voice. Bah! Chen Mo didn't waste any words. He raised his leg and kicked Mr. Zhang in the stomach, sending him flying. Then he stepped on Mr. Zhang's head and said, I asked you to drink. Why are you talking so much nonsense? After hearing the noise, Su Jiao and others rushed over from the box. When they saw Chun Mo kicking Mr. Zhang away, everyone's faces were filled with shock. This Chun Mo must be crazy. What is going on in his mind? Why is he fighting with others out of nowhere? Su Ziao Sai Se Tu Te Ling. Chapter 14. Escalation of Conflict. When Su Jiao and others saw Chun Mo fighting with the middle-aged men in the box, they all showed expressions of disbelief. Because they know that if you fight in the YR bar, the bar owner will not let you go even if it is not your fault. Even if the second generation of rich people from some big families in Nanyang City have conflicts with others in this bar, they will choose to deal with it outside the bar. That's why YR Bar is known as the safest bar in Nanyang City. Chun Mo himself was not clear about the rules of this bar. He thought that it was Mr. Zhang and his people who drugged Wang Miao first. He wanted to take Wang Miao away, but these people tried to stop him, so he took action. There is nothing wrong with doing this yourself. And only if Mr. Zhang drinks the glass of wine, he will have evidence that Mr. Zhang drugged him. Once the police intervened in the matter, Chun Mo could be considered to have acted bravely. Su Mubai stood at the door and looked at Chun Mo indifferently, thinking in his heart who he should call to deal with the matter of Chun Mo beating people in this bar. Master Wang, I brought Chun Mo in. He beat someone up in this bar. Will that implicate me? Su Jiao asked Wang Yubin very nervously. Don't worry, you are not involved in this matter. If you are really implicated, I will help you explain to the bar owner. Wang Yubin replied to Su Jiao indifferently. When Su Jiao heard this, the expression on her face relaxed a little. At this moment, Su Jiao was not considering whether Chun Mo would be in danger. Instead, she was only concerned about whether she would be implicated by Chun Mo. Come on, drink this glass of wine. Chun Mo stepped on Mr. Zhang's head and said expressionlessly, You are fucking crazy. Do you know where this place is? If you start fighting now, don't even think about leaving this bar? Mr. Zhang was lying on the ground and shouted at Chun Mo with an excited expression. The other people in the box didn't dare to take any action and could only wait tremblingly for the bar security to come. You talk too much nonsense. Chun Mo raised his leg and kicked Mr. Zhang in the stomach again, causing Mr. Zhang to scream like a pig being slaughtered. It was this cry that instantly attracted countless people to come and watch the fun. They were all very curious about where this madman came from and how he dared to cause trouble in this bar. I'm going to make this clear today. If you don't drink this glass of wine from me, don't even think about leaving this box. I'll keep beating you until you drink it. Do you understand me? Chun Mo looked at Mr. Zhang under his feet and said calmly. Mr. Zhang was so frightened by Chun Mo's words that he trembled all over, but he gritted his teeth and said nothing. He knew better than anyone that he couldn't drink this glass of wine no matter what, because once he drinks it, he will be convicted of drugging others. You're not drinking yet? Chun Mo looked at Mr. Zhang and sneered, then raised his right foot and was about to kick Mr. Zhang on the head. Stop! Just at this moment, the bar security finally showed up. 5 or 6 security guards rushed into the box in an instant. Su Mubai also walked up to Chun Mo and whispered, You beat someone up in this bar. You've gotten into big trouble. He put drugs in my friend's drink. I wanted to take my friend away, but these people wouldn't let me go, so I took action. Chun Mo looked at Su Mubai and explained. The owner of the bar won't listen to your explanation. It's the rule of this bar that no one is allowed to cause trouble here. Su Mubai said in a decisive tone. So what? At worst, I can just call the police. I don't trust the police, and they are unreasonable. Chun Mo's words seemed a bit naive. A hint of helplessness flashed across Su Mubai's beautiful eyes, and he frowned and said, Do you think the police can handle what's going on here? Even if the police can't do anything about it, what can we do? Do you mean that if I saw someone put drugs in my friend's drink, I should just pretend that I didn't see it? Chun Mo looked at Su Mubai and asked, That's not what I want to talk to you about now. It's already a fact that you beat someone up. The problem now is that the bar owner won't let you go. Su Mubai paused for a moment, then continued. As long as you agree to what I told you before, dump Chu Runting and be with me, I can ask my father to help you settle this matter. Chun Mo looked at Su Mubai and couldn't help but sneered, then said lightly, So that's what you wanted to say? Then I'm sorry, you don't need to care about my business. You. Su Mubai looked at Chun Mo in shock. She couldn't figure out whether Chun Mo didn't realize the seriousness of the problem or whether what she had just said was not clear enough. Chun Mo ignored Su Mubai and raised his right foot and kicked Mr. Zhang on the head again. The kick was so powerful that it caused Mr. Zhang's nose to bleed. The security guard who had just rushed to the door of the box couldn't help but frown slightly after seeing this scene. They didn't expect that even after they had come over, Chinemo still had the courage to take action. All of you come with me. After rushing into the box, the security guard didn't even ask what happened, but just shouted. This is the way YR Bar works. Anyone who causes trouble here will suffer the same fate. Brother, this matter has nothing to do with us. He was the one who hit us, and we didn't fight back. The guests present can all testify to that. Mr. Zhang immediately shouted at the security guard. I will investigate what happened. You all should follow me, the security guard said in a cold voice. Mr. Zhang's friends reluctantly stood up and prepared to leave, secretly thinking in their hearts that they didn't know why they were so unlucky today and had to run into this lunatic Chen Mo. Brother, this guy stepped on my head. How can I get up? Mr. Zhang shouted at the security guard while bleeding from his nose. Let him go, and you come with us? The security guard reached out and pulled Chen Mo. Chen Mo turned his head and glanced at the security guard, then said calmly, This man drugged my friend's wine. If he doesn't drink this glass of wine today, he can't leave. Chen Mo understood that once Mr. Zhang walked out of the box, he would not admit anything that had happened before, and Chen Mo would not be able to produce any evidence to prove that Mr. Zhang had drugged him. You don't understand what I'm saying, right? You have to make me do it, right? A trace of anger flashed in the security guard's eyes, and then he reached out to press Chen Mo to the ground. Bah! But the next second, Chen Mo grabbed the security guard's arm, and then suddenly exerted force to throw the security guard out from behind him. The security guard's body slammed heavily onto the dining table. Wang Miao was so scared that she took 2 steps back and stared at Chen Mo with her big watery eyes. Su Mubai, Su Jiao, and others were also dumbfounded. Chen Mo had just beaten up Mr. Zhang and his men in the box, which was already a capital crime. It would be difficult for him to get away without some background. But what these people never expected was that Chen Mo would be so crazy that he even beat up the security guard of YR Bar. The expression on Su Mubai's face was as ugly as it could be, because Chen Mo beat up the security guard. Even if she asked her father to come forward, it would be difficult to settle the matter. However, when Su Mubai thought about Chen Mo's previous attitude towards him, his mood seemed to calm down a little. After all, she doesn't really like Chen Mo. Even if something happens to Chen Mo, it's his own fault. What does it have to do with her? Wang Yubin smiled and said calmly, I really didn't expect that I would be able to see such a lively scene today just to attend a birthday party. Chapter 15. Falling at the last hurdle. When the security guards in the bar saw that Chen Mo dared to attack one of their own, they showed no mercy and rushed directly towards Chen Mo. The security guards of these bars are all professionally trained, and their skills are naturally beyond the reach of ordinary people. So Chen Mo had some difficulty dealing with these security guards. After hearing that someone had a fight with the security guard in the bar, the guests in the bar also rushed towards the private room. They were all very curious about who had the guts to cause such a big commotion in the YR Bar. 5 minutes later, Chen Mo knocked down all the remaining 5 security guards in the box. Wang Yubin, Su Mubai, Su Jiao, and others looked at Chen Mo with expressions as incredible as they could be. They had never thought that Chen Mo's skills would be so good. Even the security guards in the bar were no match for Chen Mo. Mr. Zhang, who was lying on the ground, was completely dumbfounded. There was nothing but shock in his eyes. If he were given another chance to start over, he would never drug Wang Miao. After dealing with the security guards, Chen Mo walked up to Mr. Zhang, stepped on his head, and asked him expressionlessly, Do you want a drink? I drink it. Can't I drink it now? Mr. Zhang understood how ruthless Chen Mo was in front of him. He did not dare to hesitate at all, and directly picked up the wine glass and drank the foreign liquor in it. A few seconds later, Mr. Zhang fainted. Everyone present understood that Mr. Zhang had indeed put drugs in the wine. Wang Miao couldn't help but feel a little scared, because if Chen Mo had not appeared in time, he might have been lying on the big bed in the hotel at the mercy of others. However, even if Chen Mo could prove that Mr. Zhang had indeed put drugs in the wine, but it seems to be of no use, because it is a fact that Chen Mo beat up the security guard here. There is absolutely no way the bar owner would let Chen Mo go. Talp, talp, talp. A burst of dense footsteps sounded. I saw a middle-aged man and more than a dozen security guards rushing towards the box with serious expressions. When Wang Yubin saw the middle-aged man, his expression changed significantly, and he whispered, Chen Mo is dead this time. The lobby manager of the YR bar has come out. If he comes out, someone will die. After hearing what Wang Yubin said, Su Mubai couldn't help but frown slightly, and then he began to struggle in his heart about whether he should help Chen Mo. Although Su Mubai didn't like Chen Mo, no matter what, It was she who asked Su Jiao to call Chinemo over today, and it seemed that Chinemo really did not do anything wrong. It was just that the way he did things was a little inappropriate. So at this moment, Su Mubai felt that if she watched Chinemo die here, her conscience would be condemned. Chinemo, YR's manager is here. If you beg me now, I can help you save your life. Su Mubai took a step forward and spoke to Chinemo in a cold voice. Chinemo just glanced at Su Mubai indifferently and didn't say anything. Wang Yubin stood there with a frown on his face. He really couldn't understand what it was about Chinemo that attracted Su Mubai so much. Even at this time, Su Mubai still wanted to help Chinemo. You beat up all the security guards in our bar, right? The manager walked straight up to Chinemo and asked him expressionlessly. Chinemo slowly raised his head and took a look at the manager. He should be around 40 years old, with a handsome face and clear features. His tone of voice and his temperament gave people a sense of authority without even being angry. Yes, I did it. Chen Montak nodded slowly. Okay, take it away. The manager waved his hand and said to Chinemo, I advise you not to resist, otherwise I will shoot you right now. Chinemo glanced at the bulge on the manager's waist and sneered. Wang Miao Miao was in a state of collapse. She couldn't understand why the people in the bar were so domineering. Two groups of security guards came in succession, but it seemed that no one asked what had happened here. The guests who were watching the fun around were looking at Chinemo with regret. They seemed to have guessed what would happen next. Why are you laughing? The bar manager frowned and asked after seeing Chinemo smile. I laugh at how overbearing the people in your YR bar are. They just want to shoot me over a disagreement. Don't you think there is no law in your YR bar? Chinemo shouted expressionlessly. Here, our rules are the law. You can choose not to come and play with us, but if you come, you must abide by the rules. The manager looked at Chinemo and shouted in a loud voice. Then let me ask you, is it the rule of your YR bar to drug female customers? Chinemo was not intimidated by the manager's aura and stepped forward to question him. We at YR bar have never done anything like this. It was the personal behavior of the customer. It was the customer's personal behavior, but don't you, YR bar, have an obligation to protect the safety of your customers? You can't do it. I can help you do it, but now you want to attack me because I helped you. I want to ask you, are you on the side of those who drugged you or on the side of the client? This is clearly known as the safest bar in Nanyang City, but it can't even protect the basic safety of its customers. Don't you think this is ridiculous in itself? Chun Mo's words instantly stumped the manager. The guests around also started to talk in a low voice, especially the female customers, who felt that there seemed to be nothing wrong with what Chinemo did at this time. After all, Chinemo didn't cause trouble because he was drunk. He did it to save people. But no one would stand up to speak for Chinemo because no one dared to offend the owner of YR Bar. I didn't expect Chinemo to be such a talker, but it's a pity that it's useless. The people in the YR Bar are so unreasonable. Wang Yubin continued to be sarcastic, and Su Mubai glared at Wang Yubin fiercely. At this time, Su Mubai's impression of Chinemo had changed greatly. She seemed to understand why Chu runting liked Chinemo. Even though the other party had threatened him with a gun, Chinemo was able to remain calm and say such words calmly. This is enough to prove that Chinemo is not an ordinary person. What you just said makes some sense, but you shouldn't hit anyone here. The manager slowly spoke to Chinemo. If I hadn't done anything, would that person have drunk that glass of wine? Would your security guard have let me walk out of here with my friend? Chinemo asked back loudly. Haha, you're quite an interesting guy. Keep these words and tell them to our boss. It's no use telling them to me. The manager waved his hand, then turned around and prepared to leave. Chinemo observed the security guards brought by the manager with an expressionless face, and then planned an escape route in his mind. He was not a fool. He understood that if he was controlled by these people, he might not even have the right to speak. So what Chinemo said just now was not at all about reasoning with the manager. He was deliberately delaying time and observing the shortest route to the bar entrance. However, the only thing that made Chinemo a little helpless was that he might not be able to take Wang Miao Miao away with him. But he also thought that Wang Miao Miao was the victim in this incident, and the people in the bar might not do anything to Wang Miao Miao. Young man, come with us. A security guard came in front of Chinemo and whispered to him. Okay. Chinemo pretended to agree and walked out of the box. But the moment he walked out of the box, he suddenly raised his leg and kicked Wang Yubin, who was standing at the door. Before Wang Yubin could figure out what was going on, Chinemo kicked him away, and then he fell heavily towards the bar manager. The bar manager staggered 2 steps after being knocked by Wang Yubin. Chinemo suddenly jumped down the stairs from the second floor and rushed towards the door of the bar. "What the hell are you all standing there for? Hurry up and bring this guy back to me." As the manager spoke, he actually took out the pistol from his waist. But Chinemo was also very smart. After jumping from the second floor, he did not choose to run directly to the door, but ran to the dance floor on the first floor. Because there were a lot of customers there, the manager couldn't shoot himself. Chinemo walked around the dance floor and rushed straight to the door. He was only 10 meters away from running out of the bar. But just as Chinemo rushed to the door of the bar, a beautiful figure walked in from outside. Bang! Chinmo's body collided directly with the woman who had just walked in. The woman was knocked down by Chinemo, and the two bodyguards behind her reacted very quickly and held Chinemo down. The moment Chinemo was held down, the expression on his face was as devastated as it could be, because he was about to escape, but he didn't expect to fail in the end because of a woman. The woman slowly stood up, then frowned and shouted, "Why don't you walk like that?" But before the woman could finish her words, she saw Chinmo's appearance clearly. Chinemo also saw the woman's appearance clearly, and they were both stunned almost at the same time. "Xiaomo, why are you here?" The woman shouted excitedly. Chapter 16. Come and hug your aunt. Su Mubai stood on the second floor of the bar and looked towards where Chinemo was. At this moment, she was very surprised that Chinemo could still be so calm at this time and plan a perfect escape route. If it were an ordinary person, he would have been so scared that he could not walk and would have cried for help. But unfortunately, Chinmo's luck seemed to be a little bit worse. He was about to run away, but was stopped by a woman. However, Su Mubai still chose to take out his mobile phone, then found her grandfather's phone number, ready to call him at any time. Although Chinemo did not agree to Su Mubai's request, Su Mubai suddenly didn't want Chinemo to die here anymore, because she hasn't snatched Chinemo from Chu Runting yet. Aunt Mu. Chinemo was also stunned after seeing the appearance of the woman in front of him. He never expected that he would meet her mother's best friend Mu Rushue at this time. Mu Rushue was wearing a black cheongsam with her jet black hair tied up high. She looked like the concubine of a warlord during the Republic of China period, exquisite, noble, and elegant. What surprised Chinemo was that he hadn't seen Mu Rushue for almost 7 or 8 years, but Mu Rushue's appearance had not changed at all, and her figure seemed to remain the same as before. "Xiaomo, it's been a long time since we last met. You've grown so big. Come on, let Annie hold you." Mu Rushue was very excited to see Chinemo and opened her arms to give Chinemo a big hug. Chinmo's face was filled with despair, and he said hurriedly, "Aunt Mu, now is not the time to hug. I have to go first. Someone wants to kill me." After saying this, Chinemo planned to push Mu Rushue away. At this time, the security guards of the bar were less than 5 meters away from Chinemo. But Mu Rushue grabbed Chinemo. "Aunt Mu, what are you doing? Now is not the time for us to hug. Someone wants to kill me. Do you know that? Human life is at stake." Chinemo shouted at Mu Rushue in a state of despair. If it weren't for Mu Rushue, he would have run off to who knows where by now. "Xiaomo, tell me, who has the guts to kill you in my place? Are you tired of living?" The expression on Mu Rushue's face became noticeably more serious. "It's the security guard in this bar." Chinemo was stunned for a moment, then suddenly realized that something was wrong, and hurriedly asked Mu Rushue, "Aunt Mu, what did you say just now?" "Hello, President Mu." Before Mu Rushue could answer Chinmo's question, the security guards who had gone downstairs to chase Chinemo had already given him the answer. All the security guards did not choose to attack Chinemo. Instead, they stood there, bowed deeply to Mu Rushue, and shouted in unison. Originally, Su Mubai was about to call her grandfather, but when she saw this scene, she was stunned. Wang Yubin, Su Jiao, Su Yang, and all the guests present were dumbfounded. They seemed to sense that something was not right. Chinemo seems to know the owner of this bar," Wang Yubin said, stutteringly. Su Mubai looked puzzled and didn't say anything. The lobby manager rushed to Mu Rushue, bowed and said, "Hello, President Mu." Mu Rushue ignored the security guards and the manager, and held Chinmo's hand tightly and said, "Xiaomo, you just said someone wanted to kill you. Come and tell Aunt Mu, and let's see who has the courage to do that. These are the people who want to kill me." After Chinmo found out that Mu Rushue was actually the owner of YR Bar, he instantly gained confidence and pointed in the direction of the manager. The manager lowered his head, his expression as nervous as could be. Who would have thought that Chinmo actually knew the bar owner? Not to mention these people, even Chinmo himself knew it. When Mu Rushue heard Chinmo's words, a hint of indifference flashed across her eyes, and then she walked up to the bar manager in her high heels. Look up at me. Mu Rushue's voice was so cold that it made people shudder. The manager slowly raised his head and looked towards Mu Rushue. Bang! Mu Rushue didn't say anything nonsense. She raised her little hand and slapped the manager in the face. Blood flowed out from the corner of the manager's mouth. But he didn't dare say a word, nor did he dare to explain anything for himself. Mother Chinemo is my lifesaver. I will never be able to repay her in my lifetime. Now you are taking my money and my people to kill Chinemo. Tell me what you want to do. Mu Rushue's voice echoed in the bar. The manager lowered his head and let the blood from the corner of his mouth flow onto his clothes, but he dared not say a word. In fact, he is quite unlucky. Who would have thought that Chinemo would have a relationship with Mu Rushue? Su Mubai and the others looked in the direction of Chinemo with shock in their eyes. They didn't understand why Chinemo didn't tell them earlier, since he knew the owner of the bar. Only Wang Miao Miao's heart finally settled down. She was still regretting whether she had killed Chinemo. Pa, pa, pa. Mu Rushue slapped the manager's face 4 or 5 times before she gently shook her wrist and stopped. Boss Mu, I was wrong in this matter. I didn't know the relationship between you and this guest. This guest was the first to hit someone, so I had to catch him. The manager spoke slowly. What's wrong with Chinemo beating someone up here? The person being beaten deserves it. I'd be happy even if he smashed up the bar. Not to mention beating someone up. Mu Rushue replied in a very domineering manner. The manager gritted his teeth, not knowing what to say. In fact, this manager is quite unlucky. After all, he's just doing his normal job. He can't just ignore it when someone is making trouble. Who would have thought that Chinmo's background is so powerful? Each of you slap yourself 100 times. I'm too lazy to hit you. It's tiring. Mu Rushue shouted lightly to the manager and the security guards behind them. No one dared to go against Mu Rushue's wishes, so they could only slap themselves in the face one after another, and each slap was particularly loud. Wang Yubin, Su Mubai, Su Jiao, and others were standing on the second floor, watching the scene in front of them. They didn't know how to describe their feelings. It feels like a frog suddenly turns into a prince right before your eyes. How many people in Nanyang City try their best to get a membership card of YR Bar, and even many rich second generations feel proud and honored because they have a YR membership card. But Chinemo, this extremely ordinary loser in their eyes. I can actually have such a close relationship with the owner of YR Bar. Xiaomo, can you let Annie hug you now? At this moment, Mu Rushue suddenly seemed like a different person and shouted at Chinemo in a very gentle tone. Aunt Mu, I'm already old, not a child anymore, so don't hold me anymore. Chinemo replied Tomuruksue speechlessly. In fact, he himself is a little surprised now. Although Chinemo knew that Mu Rushue's father was a politician, it seemed that he was just the county magistrate of a poor county back then, and was not considered a high-ranking official. I don't know why Mu Rushue suddenly became the owner of the famous YR Bar in Nanyang City. Could it be that Mu Rushue found an old man with power? No, you have to hug me. Mu Rushue shouted at Chinemo in a coquettish manner. The manager was devastated when he heard these words. It was the first time he saw the high and mighty Mu Rushue acting like a spoiled child. Chinemo had no choice but to hug Mu Rushue. Mu Rushue has a unique fragrance on her body, exactly the same as it was back then, and Chinemo still remembers it vividly. Our little Chinemo has really grown up. He is taller than me, looks much more handsome, and seems to have muscles. As Mu Rushue spoke, she reached out and touched Chinmo's abdominal muscles, then said with a sweet smile, "It's still quite hard." Chinemo looked at the extremely collapsed expression on Mu Rushue's face, and he really didn't know what to say. Come on, sit down, and we'll have a good chat with you. Mu Rushue grabbed Chunmo's hand and walked towards the sofa next to the dance floor, as if she didn't take the guest's presence seriously at all. Chapter 17. Fired? Mu Rushue dragged Chinemo directly to the sofa area next to the dance floor on the first floor and sat him down. The waiter immediately placed a beautiful fruit plate and some foreign wine on the coffee table. Chinemo looked at the security guards standing there and slapping people one after another, feeling somewhat reluctant. After all, this whole thing has nothing to do with security. Aunt Mu, why don't you just let these people do what they should do? The cause of this incident is that someone put drugs in my friend's drink, so I hit him. Chinemo spoke softly to Muruksue. Mu Rushue casually picked up a cherry and put it in her mouth, then said calmly, "Are you sure you want to let these people go? They wanted to kill you just now. They're just following the rules you set. I have no grudge against them," Chinemo said calmly. Mu Rushue gave Chinemo a lot of face, and turned around and shouted at the manager. Manager Wang, take your people and do what they should do. Yes, President Mu. The manager nodded quickly. By the way, Xiao Mo just said that someone seemed to have drugged his friends. You should know how to deal with this matter, right? Mu Rushue continued. I know. At this moment, the manager's anger seemed to be out of control. The whole thing started because someone drugged Chun Mo's friend. And I don't want something like this to happen again in the future. If it happens again, you'll just go back to farming. Do you understand? Mu Rushue is like two different people when she talks to other people and when she talks to Chun Mo. Boss Mu, I understand. The manager nodded quickly, then turned and left. Chun Mo looked at Mu Rushue and hesitated for a moment, then said softly, Mu, I remember you were doing business before? How come you open a bar now? My old man got promoted, so it's a little inconvenient for me to do business here. So I can only open a bar to help him maintain his connections. Mu Rushue replied calmly, then glanced at Chun Mo with her beautiful eyes and complained, You too, kid. Didn't your parents leave you a phone after they passed away? There are contact information for all of us in it. Why haven't you ever called us? I don't have anything to do. Why should I call you? There is indeed a mobile phone among Chun Mo's parents' belongings, and stored in it are all the connections that Chun Mo's father had accumulated throughout his life. A random phone call Chun Mo might change his current situation. However, Chun Mo doesn't like help from others, and he feels that his situation is not so bad that he needs to rely on charity from others to survive. He recently found Chu Runting, a top-notch, rich, and beautiful girlfriend, and he feels that he will soon reach the peak of his life. You've already been kicked out of the Chin family by the Chin family, and you still have the nerve to say that nothing happened? Mu Rushue frowned slightly. She actually understood that Chun Mo was unwilling to trouble others. Being kicked out is quite embarrassing. I don't need to tell you, Chun Mo said in a low voice. Mu Rushue looked at Chun Mo in silence for 2 seconds, then sighed softly and said, Your personality is exactly the same as your father's. When you graduate from college, come to your aunt's place and help me. Although I can't let you reach your father's level, at least no one in Nanyang City dares to bully you. Aunt Mu, I have my own plans here. I don't want to work in a bar anymore. The music here is too loud. Chun Mo said with gritted teeth. Mu Rushue shook her head helplessly and then said softly, Forget it. Since you have your own plans, I won't waste my words. Remember my phone number, and remember to call me if you really have any trouble. Chun Mo nodded, then stood up and prepared to leave. What? Are you leaving now? You don't plan to stay with your aunt for a while. Mu Rushue frowned and asked when she saw Chun Mo was about to leave. Chun Mo had no choice but to sit down and continue chatting with Mu Rushue. After more than half an hour, Chun Mo was finally let go by Mu Rushue. When Chun Mo walked out of the YR bar, he found Wang Miao Miao standing at the door waiting for him, and Su Mubai's car had not left. Chun Mo, you're out? I was really scared today. Luckily, you know the owner of the bar. Otherwise, those people would definitely not let you go. Wang Miao Miao rushed to Chun Mo and shouted at him excitedly. It's wrong for those people to drug your drink. We are always right no matter where we are. Chun Mo replied to Wang Miao Miao indifferently. At this moment, Su Mubai slowly walked up to Chun Mo and said expressionlessly, Chun Mo, I want to talk to you alone. Just chat. After hearing this, Wang Miao Miao turned around and walked aside sensibly. Sister, what on earth do you want to do? I've already said that no matter what, I will never break up with Chu Runting and be with you. Can you please stop pestering me? Chun Mo spoke directly to Su Mubai. This is the last time I'm going to ask you this question. It's not too late if you change your mind now. Su Mubai replied to Chun Mo coldly. Okay, then Su Mubai, I'm going to tell you very seriously that I'm not interested in a girl like you who is so high and mighty. The person I like is Chu Runting, not you. So please don't bother me anymore in the future, okay? Chun Mo spoke to Su Mubai in a very serious tone. You'll regret this. A hint of anger flashed across Su Mubai's beautiful eyes, and then she turned around and ran towards the Mercedes-Benz on the side of the road. Chun Mo looked at Su Mubai's back, and a hint of helplessness flashed across his eyes. In fact, he didn't want to say it so decisively, but he felt that if he didn't make his words clearer, it would not be good for Su Mubai to keep pestering him like this. Such a beautiful girl is pursuing you. Why don't you agree? At this moment, Wang Miao Miao returned to Chun Mo, blinked her big eyes, and asked Chun Mo, There are so many girls in my school who are pursuing me with this kind of looks, but I have someone I love, so I can only reject them. Chun Mo replied to Wang Miao Miao in a very pretentious manner. Wang Miao Miao pouted her lips, not knowing what to say. Chun and Mo hailed a taxi, and the two of them went straight back to the rental house. Perhaps because what happened today was so unbelievable, Wang Miao Miao simply expressed some thanks to Chun and Mo and returned to her home. Chun and Mo simply washed up, then took out his mobile phone and chatted with Chu Runting for a while before continuing to study his two stocks. If Chun Mo's estimation is correct, the value of these two stocks will at least double in 3 months. In this way, the 1 million he invests now will become 3 million by then. Chun and Mo now had the starting capital. 8 o'clock the next morning. Chun and Mo was awakened by the alarm clock. After a quick wash, he went to Nanyang University. However, when Chun and Mo just arrived in the classroom, he found that the counselor was already sitting on the podium. Chun and Mo, come with me to the office. When the counselor saw Chun and Mo, he stood up and said. Chun and Mo looked at the counselor in a daze for a moment. He could feel that there was something wrong with the counselor's expression. Something must have happened. A few minutes later, Chun and Mo followed the counselor into the office. Chun and Mo, you are now expelled from school. You don't need to come to school for the time being. Go home and take care of yourself, the counselor said to Chun and Mo in a cold voice. After hearing what the counselor said, Chun and Mo froze in place for a moment, with an expression of disbelief on his face. Chapter 18. Give me a reason. What did you say? Chun and Mo looked at the counselor with a shocked expression. He even doubted whether he had heard it wrongly. I said you've been expelled from school now. Under normal circumstances, you should have been expelled directly, but I discussed it with the principal, and seeing that you didn't make any other mistakes on a daily basis, I decided to put you on probation. You can come back to class if you behave well. The counselor looked at Chun and Mo expressionlessly and said, Fire me? What did I do wrong? Give me a reason. The expression on Chun Mo's face was still very puzzled, because this matter was really too inexplicable. In fact, for Chun and Mo, an illusory academic degree is really not that important to him. After all, it is impossible for Chun and Mo to find a job after graduation with his diploma from Nanyang University like ordinary people. His real goal is to take the Chun group back from the Chun family. This is something that would be difficult for Chun and Mo to accomplish no matter how high his diploma is. But why does Chun and Mo still care so much at this time? The reason is simple. Nanyang University is the alma mater of Chun Mo's mother. When Chun and Mo was very young, her mother always hoped that Chun and Mo could study at Nanyang University. To put it simply, the knowledge that Chun and Mo has learned in school now may not be of much help to his future, but this is his mother's last wish. But Chun and Mo didn't expect that he would be expelled from school at this time. Even if he racked his brains, he couldn't figure out why. Someone reported that you cheated in the last final exam, so you were being punished like this. The counselor looked at Chun and Mo and said calmly, Ridiculous, my grades are top in our class. How can I cheat? Who can I cheat with? Chun and Mo could no longer control the anger in his heart. The instructor raised his head and glanced at Chun and Mo, saying expressionlessly, Didn't you understand what I just said? Someone reported you for cheating. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Chun and Mo took a deep breath and tried his best to calm himself down. We are still investigating the evidence. If there is any evidence, the school will definitely expel you. Will you still have a chance to talk to me here? The counselor picked up the cup and took a sip of tea. So, just because someone reported me for cheating in the final exam, but there is no evidence, the school is going to expel me, right? Chun and Mo asked the counselor directly in a cold voice. Yes, that's what I mean. The counselor didn't intend to waste any more time and just nodded. Teacher Wang, don't you think this is a little ridiculous? I know what I am like in our class better than I am. There is no way I would cheat. What's more, the person who reported me didn't even produce any evidence, and the school punished me like this. Is this fair to me? Chun and Mo doesn't care about the so-called graduation certificate. What he really cares about is to complete what his mother entrusted him to do. Considering Chun Mo's academic performance, he should have been directly admitted to graduate school, let alone being expelled. When the counselor saw Chun and Mo so excited, he sighed softly, then reached out and patted Chun and Mo on the shoulder and said, Go home and rest for a while. I will try to get you back earlier, but the scholarship may have nothing to do with you. I don't need a scholarship, but I want an explanation. A fair explanation. Chun and Mo slapped the counselor's hand away. A fair explanation? The counselor couldn't help but sneered, then whispered, This is the notice and document issued to me by the higher-ups. Your punishment will be posted on the school bulletin board and the school website soon. You come to me for an explanation, but what can I explain to you? Then I'll go find the principal and ask for an explanation right now. If you can't explain it clearly, I'll go find him and explain it. Chun and Mo turned around and prepared to leave. The counselor grabbed Chun Mo and whispered, "Why don't you understand, kid? If you really cheated, do we need to expel you? Just cancel your scholarship." "What do you mean?" Chun Mo was stunned for a moment. "I just said that someone reported you for cheating, but there is no evidence. Have you offended anyone recently?" The counselor has said all he can say. Natürlich, Chen Montag reacted instantly. "Thank you, Teacher Wang." Chen Mo realized that there was no point in continuing to yell at the counselor, so he turned around and walked out of the office after saying this. Looking at the entire school, who can influence the principal's thoughts and opinions? Those must be the people on the Nanyang University Board of Directors. Nanyang University is a very famous university in China. In order to expand, the school established a board of directors to absorb funds from the society. Chen Mo once heard others discuss that Su Mubai's mother was a member of the school board, and even the school's newest library was donated by Su Mubai's mother. The reason why Chen Mo was fired seems to be very clear. It must be Su Mubai who is behind this. After leaving the counselor's office, Chen Mo rushed directly to the classroom where Su Mubai was. At this time, Su Mubai was wearing a white long dress, sitting in the classroom like a noble white rose. The male students in the class would often glance in the direction of Su Mubai out of the corner of their eyes, because this girl was so beautiful and so eye-catching. Su Mubai seemed to be listening to the teacher's lecture with full concentration, but in fact only she knew that she could not hear a word the teacher said, and she would look towards the classroom entrance from time to time, because she knew that someone should show up today. It's strange to say, originally Su Mubai really had no good feelings towards Chen Mo. Although Chen Mo was already very outstanding in this school, and his appearance and academic performance were top-notch, there were many outstanding boys around Su Mubai. Even Wang Yubin might be able to kill 90% of the boys in the school in seconds. It is normal for Su Mubai to have no good feelings towards Chen Mo. But I don't know why, after some contact. Su Mubai subconsciously felt that Chun Mo seemed to be more interesting than he had imagined, especially Chun Mo's constant refusal, which would constantly arouse Su Mubai's inner desire for control. Su Mubai even began to look forward to meeting Chen Mo. Just as Su Mubai was thinking about these things, a figure suddenly rushed into the classroom. The originally quiet classroom suddenly became a mess, because the person who appeared at this time was none other than Chen Mo, who had rejected Su Mubai several times. Why is Chen Mo here? Then he must be here to see Miss Su. Are they two together? No way. The students around began to discuss in low voices. And the moment Su Mubai saw Chen Mo, he couldn't help but reveal a smug smile on his face. It's finally here. Su Mubai secretly rejoiced in his heart. Chapter 19. I'm not a gigolo. After entering the classroom where Su Mubai was, Chen Mo rushed straight towards Su Mubai. "Student, which class are you from? What are you doing here?" The teacher on the podium stood in front of Chen Mo and shouted at him loudly. "Get lost!" Chen Mo replied to the teacher in a cold voice. The teacher was stunned for a moment, then quickly made way for Chen Mo. He was afraid that Chen Mo would hit him. Why did Chen Mo come to see Su Mubai? Are you going to confess your feelings? It would be so cool to confess in an occasion like this. No wonder Su Mubai likes Chen Mo. Chen Mo is really handsome. A few girls who were more obsessed with sex looked in Chen Mo's direction and sighed. Su Mubai sat there expressionlessly, with no emotion showing on her face, but she could feel her heart beating faster. "Come out with me. I have something to tell you." Chen Mo pulled Su Mubai up, then turned around and walked out of the classroom. "What can you say here?" Su Mubai replied to Chen Mo in a low voice. "I told you to come out with me." Chen Mo replied to Su Mubai in a cold voice. Su Mubai hesitated for a moment, then followed Chen Mo out of the classroom. Chen Mo dragged Su Mubai to the corner of the corridor. "Can you please let go of my hand? There's no one else here. If you have anything to say, just say it directly." Su Mubai seemed to feel some pain in his wrist as Chen Mo was pulling him. After struggling for a while, he shouted at Chen Mo. Chen Mo let go of Su Mubai and then said in a cold voice, "The fact that the school expelled me has something to do with you, right?" Su Mubai looked at Chen Mo without saying anything. "I just can't figure it out. What's wrong with me? Why do you have to pester me? And you can actually do such a thing. Tell me what you want to do." Chen Mo glared at Su Mubai and shouted, "Chen Mo, don't be so narcissistic. First of all, I can tell you very clearly that I don't like you at all. I confessed to you just to make a bet with my sister. But I didn't expect you to be with Chu Runting. The person I hate the most is Chu Runting, so I must break you two up no matter what. At this time, Su Mubai stopped pretending and came clean to Chin Mo. Okay, so you mean to tease me, right? Chin Mo couldn't help but sneer. No matter how you interpret it, I have already made it very clear to you. Su Mubai replied to Chin Mo indifferently. You were angry with Chu Runting, and you made a bet with others, and in the end you even made fun of my academic status. This is the first time I've heard of this. Don't you think you've gone too far? Chin Mo gritted his teeth and continued to ask. It's not excessive or not. I have the ability to have the school expel you, and I also have the ability to have the school not expel you. As long as you think it over, I can immediately ask the school to revoke the punishment against you. Su Mubai was born into the Su family, a large family. She seemed to understand better than anyone else how to use social resources to achieve her desired goals. Chin Mo walked directly towards Su Mubai. Su Mubai knew how powerful Chin Mo's skills were, so he subconsciously took 2 steps back, and his expression became a little nervous. What are you going to do? Su Mubai asked Chin Mo. Su Mubai, remember this. Even if you are the only woman left in this world, I will not be with you. Chin Mo stopped less than 10 centimeters away from Su Mubai and spoke to Su Mubai in an extremely cold voice. Su Mubai froze in place for a moment. She didn't understand why she felt a little sad when she heard Chin Mo's words. Also, not everything in this world can be as you wish. Not everyone is a toy in your hands, Su Mubai. At least I am not one of them. Chin Mo, can't you use your connections to fire me? Within 10 days, I will ask the principal to come and apologize to me in person, and then beg me to let me come back. Chin Mo looked at Su Mubai and spoke word by word. Don't think you can come back by relying on the Chu family's connections. The Chu family has no say in this school, not to mention that Chu Runting doesn't have that much influence in the Chu family right now. Su Mubai replied to Chin Mo coldly. I don't rely on the Chu family. Who do you rely on then? Are you relying on Ms. Mu from the YR bar? It seems like she can't help you at all. Su Mubai is native. I don't need anyone's help with this little thing. I can handle it myself, Chin Mo said calmly. Okay, Chin Mo is a man of integrity. If you can really return to school with your own ability, I, Su Mubai, will never pester you again in my life. Su Mubai didn't believe that Chin Mo had such great ability. That's not enough. I need you to apologize to me. Apologize to me in front of everyone. Chen Montauk replied expressionlessly. No problem. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Su Mubai seemed to say this with some disdain. Chin Mo ignored Su Mubai and turned away. Su Mubai looked at Chin Mo's back, hesitated for 2 seconds, bit his lip, and said to himself, Am I really that annoying? Why would he rather be fired than be with me? On the other side, after Chin Mo separated from Su Mubai, he found a deserted place, took out his mobile phone, and called Chu Runting. Chin Mo, what's the matter? Chu Runting asked with a smile. Aunt Chu, I was expelled from school. Chen Montag shouted heartbreakingly. What did you do to get fired? Did you lift the female teacher's skirt? And why are you making such a noise? Are you crying because you got fired? I'm not crying. I just feel wronged and want you to hug me. I still have 2 days before I go back. Tell me what happened. Why did the school expel you for no reason? Chin Mo told Chu Runting the general cause of the incident. You are so good, Su Mubai. You are taking advantage of me not being at home to bully my man, right? I will book a flight back now. I want to see what tricks this little devil can come up with. Chu Runting couldn't control herself the moment she knew what happened. You don't have to come back. You can't help me if you come back. I can handle it myself. Chin Mo quickly replied. How do you handle it yourself? Chu Running asked. How about this? You help me investigate the situation of the Nanyang University Board of Directors. The most important thing is to find out who has the final say on this board. Chin Mo thought for a moment and then said in a low voice. Are you sure you don't need me to come back and help you? Chu Runting was a little worried about Chin Mo's situation. I've already told Su Mubai that I don't need to rely on anyone's connections. I can handle this myself. What's the point of you coming back? Wouldn't I, Chin Mo, really become a gigolo? Chin Mo said righteously. If you don't want to be my freeloader, why are you touching the money in my account? Chu Running asked. Forehead. Chun Mo's eyes flashed with embarrassment, and then he hurriedly said, Sister, is this the time to talk about this? Your money is my money. What's yours and mine? Hurry up and find me the information of the board of directors. Okay, I'll send it to you later. If you really can't bear it anymore, call me and I'll go back to my grandfather right away. I don't believe that I can't deal with Su Mubai. Chinemo felt very comfortable when he heard Chu Runting's words. However, he really had no intention of asking Chu Runting for help because he didn't want to blame the Chu family for everything. Chapter 20. The Mysterious Woman. Chinemo understood that the most fundamental reason why he was expelled from school was that Su Mubai's mother was a member of the school board of directors. So if we want to solve this problem, we must start with the board of directors. Since Su Mubai's mother is a member of the board of directors, Chinemo can be fired with just one phone call. Then Chinemo can also find someone with more say than your mother on the board of directors, and let me go back. A few minutes later, Chinemo received a piece of information sent by Chu Runting. The information is relatively complete, basically listing all the members of the Nanyang University Board of Directors, and also marking the identities and backgrounds of these people. After a quick look, Chinemo realized that something was wrong. He discovered that Su Mubai's mother Huang Lei held a very high position on the board of directors and was the managing director. This also proves that Huang Lei did not just donate some money and then put her name on the board of directors. If Chinemo wants to solve his own problem, he can only take action against the chairman or vice chairman of the board of directors. The vice president of the school board is a middle-aged man in his 50s. He owns several companies in Jiangnan province and is usually very busy, so Chinemo feels that it would be very difficult for him to get close to this person. The president of the school board is a grandmother in her 70s. Chinemo felt that since this person was so old, she should have a lot of free time, so it would be a good choice for him to start from her. After hesitating for a while, Chinemo finally decided to call Chu Runting. "My dear, what are you doing?" After Chu Runting answered the phone, Chinemo quickly asked with a smile, "Stop talking nonsense. Why are you calling me?" Chu Runting replied indifferently, but Chinemo could hear that there seemed to be a lot of people on her side, and the voices were a bit messy. "Well, I'm planning to take action against Wang Fengxia. Do you have any suggestions?" Chinemo continued to ask. "We in the Chu family are not very familiar with this Wang Fengxia, but I have heard a lot about her. A woman who has run a business all by herself. Her company can now be considered one of the top 100 companies in the country. I have a friend who seems to have some contact with this Wang Fengxia. Do you want me to introduce her to you?" Chu Running thought about it. "That's great." Chinemo understood that his current identity was just an ordinary college student, and it would be harder than climbing to the sky to get in touch with the chairman of the school board. However, if Chu Runting could help him introduce an intermediary, then this matter would be much simpler. "That's not right. Didn't you say you don't want to be a freeloader? Why are you calling me to ask for help now?" Chu Runting asked with a smile. "I'm not a gigolo. I'm just asking if you can help me in some way." Chinemo retorted weakly. "Since you don't want to be a gigolo, you should figure out a solution for this matter yourself. I can't help you." No. Can I just be a gigolo? Can I just like being a gigolo like you?" Chinemo shouted quickly. Chu Runting laughed so hard when she heard Chinmo's words, and then said calmly, "I'll give you a phone number later, and then you can contact her directly and tell her that you are my boyfriend. I love you so much." Chinemo was so excited that he didn't know what to say. Chu Runting seemed to have someone on her side, so she didn't flirt with Chinemo and just hung up the phone. A few minutes later, Chu Runting sent Chinemo a phone number with the word Xia on it, but no name. Chinemo hesitated for a moment and then called directly. "Hello, is this Miss Xia?" Chinemo asked softly. "You are Runting's boyfriend, right?" A woman's voice came from the other end of the phone, and it sounded very nice. "Yes, it's Runting. We'll meet at Grancy's restaurant in half an hour." The other party didn't even wait for Chinemo to finish his words. He coldly threw down these words and ended the call. Chinemo looked at his phone with a helpless expression on his face. He felt that Chu Runting's friend's personality seemed a little bit strange. However, considering that the other party could act as a matchmaker between him and Wang Fengxia, Chinemo endured it and turned around to run out of the school. About 10 minutes later, Chinemo took a taxi to Grancy Restaurant. This restaurant is quite famous in Nanyang City because it is the only Michelin restaurant in Nanyang City. Most of the people who can come here to eat are young, rich second generations. Chinemo stood at the door of the restaurant and waited for almost half an hour, but there was no sign of the other party. Helplessly, Chinemo could only continue waiting. In the blink of an eye, another half an hour had passed. Chinemo finally became impatient and took out his cell phone, found the number Chu Runting left for him, and dialed it. But just as Chinemo made the call, someone patted him gently from behind. Chinemo subconsciously looked back. There was a woman standing behind him. The woman wore a black tight t-shirt on her upper body. Her breasts seemed to be about to burst out. Her waist was extremely slender, and she wore a simple pair of denim shorts on her lower body. Her long, White legs were unusually straight, and on her feet, she wore a pair of crystal clear, high-heeled sandals. I have to say that this woman's figure is almost perfect. Although not as amazing as Chu Runting's, it is definitely very, very sexy. The only pity was that the woman was wearing a baseball cap, a mask, and sunglasses, so Chinemo couldn't see her face clearly at all. What's the matter? After hesitating for a moment, Chinemo asked the woman. Come in. The woman didn't answer Chunmo's question at all and dragged Chinemo into the restaurant. What are you doing? I'm waiting for someone here. Why are you pulling me? Chinemo shouted in some confusion. Don't talk nonsense. Just come in if I tell you to. What are you shouting about? The woman scolded Chinemo directly and then dragged Chinemo into the restaurant. Good afternoon, sir and madam. Are you here for lunch? The restaurant waiter asked Chinemo and the strange woman very politely. Open a private room, the woman said without even thinking. What private room do you want to open? I told you I'm waiting for someone outside. I'm not eating. Are you an agent of this restaurant? Chunmo shouted anxiously. The woman simply stepped hard on Chunmo's instep with her high heels. Before Chunmo could scream, the woman skillfully covered Chunmo's mouth and forcibly dragged Chunmo into the box. What on earth do you do? Are you a little mentally ill? After entering the box, Chunmo shouted at the woman angrily. The woman ignored Chunmo and started to check the box very carefully. What are you looking for? Chunmo was as confused as he could be as the expression on the woman's face showed. He always felt that this woman might be somewhat mentally abnormal. A minute later, the woman had almost finished the inspection and took off her sunglasses, hat, and mask. She gasped and said, I'm really going to suffocate to death. Chunmo subconsciously looked up at the woman in front of him and then froze in place for a moment with an expression of extreme shock on his face. Chapter 21. She smiled. In the private room of Grancy Restaurant, after seeing the mysterious woman take off her sunglasses, mask, hat, and other items, Chunmo was stunned. The woman's looks match her sexy body perfectly. Her black hair was tied up high, revealing her fair neck. Her facial features were extremely delicate, and she wore a pair of beautiful earrings on her exquisite ears, making her already very beautiful body even more charming. But this was not the reason why Chunmo was shocked. The reason why he was shocked was that Chunmo felt as if he knew this woman. Chunmo quickly picked up his mobile phone and started searching the name Xia Zijing on the internet. Soon, several photos of Xia Zijing's dramas and daily life appeared on the mobile phone screen. Chunmo picked up his phone and compared it carefully with the woman in front of him, then stammered, Sister, where did you get this face? How come it looks exactly like this big star? When the woman heard Chunmo's words, a trace of helplessness flashed across her eyes, and then she said lightly, Didn't Runting tell you my identity? I didn't tell you. Are you a plastic surgeon? Chunmo blinked and asked, What do you mean by plastic surgery? I am Xia Zijing. The person on your phone is me. The woman glared at Chunmo fiercely, and then continued, I really don't know why Runting likes you. She is with you. You're just okay in appearance, and your brain doesn't seem to be very flexible. Chunmo stared at Xia Zijing in front of him, not knowing what to say for a moment. He never expected that the friend Chu Runting introduced to him would be Xia Zijing, the most popular female star in the entertainment industry today. Xia Zijing has only been in the industry for 3 years. Development in the fields of film, television, and audio. She has received many awards for Best Actress and Best Music Award, and any TV series or movie she stars in is a huge hit. Moreover, this woman sings very beautifully and dances very well. It's as if he was born for the entertainment industry. I don't know how many boys regard her as their goddess. Although Chunmo doesn't pay much attention to the entertainment industry, he has heard of Xia Zijing's name. Whether a star is popular or not does not depend on how many fans she has, but on how well known she is among passersby. Moreover, Chunmo also heard that the star Xia Zijing never accepted any commercial endorsements and had only filmed a few public service advertisements in her 3 years since her debut. Chunmo never thought that his girlfriend, Aunt Chu Runting, could actually know such a big star. And Xia Zijing's mysterious actions seem to be able to be explained clearly now. After all, if a female star of her level met alone with a young man like Chunmo, it would definitely make the headlines tomorrow if it was photographed. Waiter, take your order. Xia Zijing knew that Chunmo might still be shocked for a while, so she didn't say anything to Chunmo. She put on her sunglasses and shouted outside. The waiter hurried into the box. It seemed that this was not Xia Zijing's first time to come to this restaurant. After picking up the menu, She started ordering food. One after another, the names of dishes that Chinemo had never heard of jumped out from Xia Zijing's sexy little mouth. At first, Chinemo didn't react because he was still immersed in shock. But after Xia Zijing ordered 5 or 6 dishes in a row, Chinemo suddenly realized the problem. I came to Xia Zijing to do something for her, so it stands to reason that I should treat her to a meal. But this is a Michelin restaurant, and any random dish might be enough to cover Chun Mo's food expenses for a week. And Xia Zijing ordered so many at once. How much does this meal cost? Well, can the two of us finish all this? Chun Mo blinked and asked Xia Zijing nervously. I finally got back here, and there are so many dishes I want to try. After Xia Zijing finished speaking, she slowly raised her head and glanced at Chun Mo, then asked, Didn't you ask me to do something for you? Why can't you even treat me to a meal? No, I'm just worried that I won't be able to finish it, and it will be wasted. Chun Mo gritted his teeth and replied helplessly. Okay, that's about it. Xia Zijing finally closed the menu and turned to the waiter and said, Okay, we just launched our special mushroom soup recently. Would you like to try it, miss? The waiter asked with a smile. When Chun Mo heard the waiter's words, he suddenly had the urge to strangle the waiter to death. After ordering so many dishes, Chun Mo didn't know if the more than 700 yuan in his hand was enough. And he even wanted to drink mushroom soup? It's better to drink less mushroom soup. I heard that many people had hallucinations after drinking it. Give me one. Xia Zijing simply ignored Chun Mo's words and whispered to the waiter. Okay. The waiter turned around and left satisfied. After seeing the waiter leave, Xia Zijing took off her sunglasses again and looked at Chun Mo with a frown. Why are you looking at me like that? Chun Mo asked Xia Zijing with great confusion. I just can't figure it out. What on earth attracted Runting to you? You're not handsome, and you're so stingy. Why would Runting want to be with you? Xia Zijing shook her head and sighed as she spoke. Isn't it a bit hurtful when you say that? Chun Mo replied to Xia Zijing helplessly. What I said is just the truth. Can we two talk about something serious? Chun Mo didn't plan to continue to argue about this issue with Xia Zijing. After all, finding a way to get in touch with Wang Fengxia was the most important thing. I'm hungry. Let's talk after we finish eating, Xia Zijing said lightly. Okay. Chun Mo nodded slowly and then continued. I heard you sing Crystal Love. It sounds pretty good. Can you sing it for me? First of all, I'm here to help you, not to perform for you. Also, the song you just mentioned is not my song. Xia Zijing was as speechless as she could be when she looked at the expression on Chun Mo's face. Then can you sing one of your songs? I'll record a short video. As Chun Mo spoke, he raised his cell phone. Xia Zijing took a deep breath, then stepped hard on Chun Mo's instep with her 10-centimeter high heels. Chun Mo became much more obedient in an instant. Soon, all the dishes were served. Xia Zijing was not familiar with Chun Mo, so she had no intention of paying attention to Chun Mo. She just took out her mobile phone and called her assistant, and then started her conference call. Most of the chats were work-related. Chun Mo was not very interested in these Western foods. He ate a little and felt that the taste was not very good, so he waited quietly for Xia Zijing to finish eating. More than half an hour later, Xia Zijing finally finished eating and the conference call ended. I didn't expect you celebrities to be so busy, Chun Mo said to Xia Zijing with a smile. I'm relatively good. I don't accept advertisements, so I have almost no commercial activities. Some celebrities have even tighter schedules than me, and they don't even have time to rest. Xia Zijing wiped her mouth, took out a mirror, and checked herself carefully. Only after making sure that every part was flawless did she prepare to put on sunglasses, hat, mask, etc. Let me ask you, do you think I have the potential to develop in your entertainment industry? Chun Mo suddenly asked Xia Zijing in a very serious tone. Xia Zijing couldn't help but be stunned after hearing Chun Mo's words. Then Xia Zijing smiled. The smile hurt Chun Mo's self-esteem a little. Chapter 22, Love Turns to Hate? Chun Mo's defense broke down instantly when he saw Xia Zijing laughing so hard. What are you laughing at? Yes. No. What are you laughing at? Chun Mo gritted his teeth and shouted at Xia Zijing. Now I finally understand why Runting is with you. Xia Zijing replied with a sweet smile. Why? Chun Mo blinked and asked. You don't have any other advantages, but I think you are quite humorous. After saying this, Xia Zijing continued to laugh. Chun Mo was so angry at Xia Zijing's words that he was shaking all over. For a moment, he didn't know how to refute it. When did you become humorous? Okay, let's talk about serious matters. Xia Zijing finally stopped smiling, looked at Chun Mo seriously, and asked, I heard from Runting that you seem to want to meet Grandma Wang. What do you want to see Grandma Wang for? I was expelled from my school. Wang Fengxia is the president of our school's board of directors. I think she should be able to help me solve this problem. Chen Mo did not choose to hide anything and told the truth directly. Just for such a small matter? Xia Zijing looked at the expression on Chen Mo's face and was very confused. It may be a small matter in your eyes, but it is more important to me. Chen Mo answered very seriously. No one knew that studying at Nanyang University was Chen Mo's mother's last wish. That's why Chen Mo cares so much. I know the president of your Nanyang University. I could just call him and ask you to come back. As Xia Zijing spoke, she was about to take out her cell phone. It's no use. The order to expel me was given by the school board to the principal. If things were really that simple, Chen Mo wouldn't have to waste his energy. You actually offended the school board? What law did you break? The female star Xia Zijing seemed to be very gossipy and asked Chen Mo very curiously. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just that there's a girl named Su Mubai in our school who has been pursuing me. If she can't get me, she wants to destroy me. So she asked her mother to use her connections to get me expelled. Chen Mo sighed with some sadness. Su Mubai liked you, and then pursued you. And in the end, because he couldn't get you, he turned his love into hatred and took revenge on you, right? Xia Zijing asked Chen Mo. Right. Chen Mo nodded. Xia Zijing looked at Chen Mo and laughed again. Even more exaggeratedly this time, she couldn't straighten her back with laughter. Chen Mo sat opposite Xia Zijing, his eyes showing anger and frustration. He couldn't figure out what this woman Xia Zijing was laughing at. 10 minutes later, Chen Mo forcibly dragged Xia Zijing out of the box. He really didn't want to waste time with this crazy woman. After Chen Mo and Xia Zijing arrived at the restaurant's front desk, the waiter handed the receipt for the meal to Chen Mo with a smile. When Chen Mo saw the last number on the receipt, he felt like he was struck by lightning. 23,790. For Chen Mo, this number can basically be considered an astronomical figure, because he only has a total of more than 700 yuan in his hands. Helpless, Chen Mo could only pick up his cell phone and ask his dear Aunt Chu for help. Although Chen Mo doesn't want to be a gigolo, the cruel reality always forces him to do so. Xia Zijing noticed that Chen Mo's expression was a little strange, so she asked softly, "Don't you have enough money?" "Yeah, almost." Chen Mo nodded. "Almost." Xia Zijing took out her cell phone. 23,000 short. Chen Mo replied in a low voice. Xia Zijing was speechless instantly, and the smile on her face disappeared. She frowned and said, "You only have more than 700 yuan in your hand, and you dare to treat me to a meal in a restaurant like this? Let's make this clear first. First of all, you booked this place, and you dragged me in. You ordered all the dishes, too. I basically didn't eat anything." Chen Mo quickly defended himself. Xia Zijing naturally didn't lack this little money, so she didn't bother to talk nonsense with Chen Mo. She just scanned the code to pay and left. Chen Mo hurriedly followed behind Xia Zijing. "This is really the first time I've met someone like you. You asked me to do something for you, and I have to treat you to a meal." Xia Zijing walked on the street, gnashing his teeth and speaking in an extremely fierce tone. "Just think of this money as a loan from me. I'll return it to you when I have it," Chen Mo said with a smile. "Is it the 20,000 yuan that I need? I just feel uncomfortable." Xia Zijing turned around, took off her sunglasses, and shouted at Chen Mo. "You're a big star. Pay attention to your image. Put it on quickly, so no one can see you." Chen Mo hurriedly put the sunglasses back on Xia Zijing. Xia Zijing walked forward with her long, white legs. "Can we two go meet Wang Fengxia now?" Chen Mo followed behind and asked cautiously. "Grandma Wang is in a meeting now. We can only see her in the evening." Xia Zijing replied unhappily. "So, what are we going to do now?" Chen Mo continued to ask. "Let's go shopping." Xia Zijing simply replied to Chen Mo with 3 words, then turned and walked into the mall. Chen Mo had no choice but to follow him in. For the next afternoon, Chen Mo acted as Xia Zijing's free labor. Xia Zijing went from one shopping mall to another, buying a variety of things. Chen Mo really couldn't understand why Xia Zijing could walk so well when her legs were so thin. However, Xia Zijing did have some conscience. She did not let Chen Mo run around for the whole afternoon for nothing. She directly gave Chen Mo a suit worth tens of thousands of dollars, because she knew that Wang Fengxiao was very concerned about a person's dress and appearance. So if Chen Mo just went there directly, he would definitely not be able to leave a good impression on Wang Fengxia. A little after 7 in the evening, Xia Zijing finally finished shopping and called her driver directly, asking him to drive the nanny car to the mall to pick her and Chen Mo up. After getting in the car, Chen Mo found that the decoration inside Xia Zijing's nanny car was very luxurious, and the seats were also very comfortable. Perhaps because he was a little tired after shopping for an afternoon, Chen Mo fell asleep directly in the car. After an unknown amount of time, Xia Zijing gently pushed Chen Mo and said expressionlessly, "Okay, stop sleeping, we've arrived." Chen Mo opened his eyes dazedly and was about to get off the car. "Take the things," Xia Zijing shouted at Chen Mo helplessly. "What?" Chen Mo couldn't help but be stunned after hearing this. "Those things in the back are the gifts I bought for Grandma Wang. Can you come to see her empty-handed?" Xia Zijing said to Chen Mo speechlessly. Chen Mo was stunned for a moment. Only then did he realize that Xia Zijing was actually a pretty good woman. She considered things much more comprehensively than he did. She was the type of person who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Although it seemed that Xia Zijing had been shopping this afternoon, she actually seemed to be preparing to meet Wang Fengxia in the evening. Chen Mo quickly took the gifts that Xia Zijing bought for Wang Fengxia from the driver. Because these things were bought by Xia Zijing in front of Chen Mo made a simple estimate that these gifts were worth at least more than 100,000 yuan. Xia Zijing looked at Chen Mo carefully, and after making sure that there was nothing wrong with Chen Mo, she walked toward the club in front. Chapter 23. How about letting me try? After entering the club, Chen Mo briefly observed the environment inside the club. The environment is very elegant, and you can tell at first glance that this is the kind of place frequented by rich people. However, Chen Mo was not most surprised by the environment inside the club. He actually heard bursts of beautiful piano sounds in the club, and it was not the sound of a piano, but the sound of a guqin. You know, the guqin is still very rare in today's society. The most important reason is that parents nowadays like to let their children get in touch with foreign things, such as piano, but few parents are willing to spend a lot of money to train their children to learn guqin. After entering the club, there are special waiters to receive you. The beautiful waitress took Chen Mo and Xia Zijing directly to the door of a private room. Chen Mo discovered that there were a man and a woman playing the piano in the box. Xia Zijing quickly reached out to stop Chen Mo and then said softly, "Someone should be competing in playing the piano. Let's not go in yet. Didn't you say you would bring me here to see Wang Fengxia? What are you doing here?" Chen Mo asked Xia Zijing with some confusion. "Do you see the woman sitting in the middle? That's Grandma Wang," Xia Zijing whispered to Chen Mo. Chen Mo quickly took a look inside the box and saw an old lady with silver hair, dressed elegantly and gracefully, sitting there quietly. Although Wang Fengxia is almost 80 years old, her spirit and energy are as if she is only 60 years old. Apart from work, Grandma Wang's favorite thing to do is to play the guqin. Unfortunately, she got a little older, so she just listened to other people play. She is also the president of our Nanyang Guqin Association. Xia Zijing explained in a low voice. "So that's how it is?" Chen Mo nodded slowly. "Did you see that boy? His name is Lin Wenhua. He is the most powerful player in our Nanyang Guqin Association. In the past few years, he represented our Nanyang city and won several guqin competitions." Xia Zijing pointed at the boy who was playing the piano and said, "His guqin skills are really good." Chen Mo commented softly. Xia Zijing frowned and looked at Chen Mo. She felt that Chen Mo didn't understand the guqin at all and was probably pretending to know it. The piece of music called Three Variations on Plum Blossoms is quite difficult in itself. It's amazing that he can play it like this, Chen Mo said expressionlessly. Xia Zijing was stunned for a moment, then said softly, "I didn't expect you to really understand the guqin. You can even tell what this song is." "Understand a little bit," Chen Mo said with a smile. A few minutes later, Lin Wenhua finally finished playing the song. Applause broke out in the box instantly. Wang Fengxia couldn't help but nod slightly, seeming to be very satisfied with Lin Wenhua's performance. After seeing the piano music stop, Xia Zijing took Chen Mo and quickly walked into the box. "Hey, isn't Zijing here?" Wang Fengxia was also very happy when she saw Xia Zijing. She quickly stood up and hugged Xia Zijing. Everyone in the box was very surprised when they saw Xia Zijing. After all, Xia Zijing was a household name. But no one dared to talk to Xia Zijing or take a photo with her because they did not dare to offend Wang Fengxia. "Grandma Wang, we haven't seen each other for almost half a year. I miss you so much." Xia Zijing has a very good relationship with Wang Fengxia and said this in a coquettish manner. "You didn't come to see me even though you missed me." Wang Fengxia looked at Chen Mo while talking and then asked in a surprised tone, "Is this your boyfriend? He's quite handsome." "No, this is my friend Chen Mo." Xia Zijing quickly explained. Hello, Grandma Wang. Chen Mo smiled at Wang Fengxia. You little girl, you never come to me for no reason. You came here today to ask me for something. Wang Fengxiao was able to single-handedly support a private enterprise worth over 10 billion yuan. So she must have extraordinary abilities. So she understood what was going on at a glance. Nothing can be hidden from you, old man. Xia Zijing smiled. I'll tell you about your story later. Xiaolin is competing with that girl in the piano. Wait until they finish. Wang Fengxia slowly raised her head and looked at the girl standing in the crowd. Chen Mo also looked over subconsciously. The girl was very beautiful, but Chen Mo felt that beauty was not the girl's greatest advantage. Her greatest advantage was her unique temperament. The girl was wearing a white long dress and an emerald bracelet on her white wrist. She had a gentle temperament and gave people a poetic feeling. Why haven't I seen this girl before? Xia Zijing asked softly. Her name is Su Yuyu. She is quite famous. She is the 32nd generation descendant of the Wuling school. She may also represent Xining City in the Jiangnan Guqin competition. She came to our place to mess things up in advance. Wang Fengxia said expressionlessly. Xia Zijing hesitated for a moment and didn't say anything. She knew that Wang Fengxiao attached great importance to every Jiangnan Guqin competition. Therefore, the competition between the two of them today may very well determine who will win the championship in this competition. A few minutes later, Su Yuyu began her performance. The piece she chose was the same as Lin Wenhua's. But the piano music lasted for less than a minute before Wang Fengxiao's expression changed. She then stood up and ran out of the box. Lin Wenhua's face was covered in sweat, and he looked very nervous. Chen Mo knew that Su Yuyu's Guqin level was far ahead of Lin Wenhua, so just this 1 minute was enough to decide the winner. Wang Fengxia naturally chose not to continue listening. Xia Zijing turned her head to look at Chen Mo and whispered, Your coming here is really a bit unfortunate. Grandma Wang is in a good mood now, so let's not talk about your matter for now. No. Chen Mo nodded slowly. Xia Zijing hurriedly left with Wang Fengxia. A moment later, Xia Zijing and Chen Mo came to the room next to the box. At this time, Wang Fengxia was constantly reciting Buddhist scriptures, as if trying to calm herself down. Grandma Wang, it's just a small matter. Why are you so angry? Xia Zijing took the initiative to pour a cup of tea and said to Wang Fengxia with a smile. This Lin Wenhua is really a loser. I invited so many famous teachers to teach him, but now Xining City just picked some successor to play him so badly that he has no face. The level of these two people is simply heaven and earth. How can I not be angry? After drinking the tea, Wang Fengxia continued, We may have no hope for this year's Guqin competition. We can only wait until next year to see if we can find the right person. Grandma Wang, is this Guqin competition so important to you? Chen Mo suddenly asked. It's not important to me, but it's very important to our Nanyang city. They have always mocked us for being nouveau riche who only know how to make money but don't understand art. So I want to use this competition to shut them up. Wang Fengxiao replied coldly, then glanced at Chen Mo and said indifferently, Xiao Chun, don't mind it. I am old and my temper is getting worse. It's okay, it's okay. Chen Mo quickly replied with a smile. Okay, tell me your story. For Zijing's sake, I will do my best to help you. Wang Fengxia said slowly. Xia Zijing shook her head at Chen Mo, signaling Chen Mo to stop talking. Grandma Wang, I also learned the Guqin from my mother for a period of time when I was a child. How about you arrange for me to compete with that girl? Chen Mo suddenly asked Wang Fengxia. Chapter 24? The most difficult one. Many people know that Chen Mo's mother, Yang Xiongyan, has attainments and talents in piano that ordinary people cannot imagine. But many people don't know that Yang Yinxiu is not only talented in piano. Her talent in Guqin can also be considered genius level. However, Yang Yinxiu felt that it would be impossible to maintain beautiful manicure while playing the Guqin, so she finally chose the piano. When Chen Mo was a child, he not only practiced piano every day, but also practiced Guqin. That period of time could be considered the most painful period in Chen Mo's life, but thinking about it now, it was also the happiest period of his life. After Chen Mo said this, both Xia Zijing and Wang Fengxia were stunned. Chen Mo, what nonsense are you talking about here? After Xia Zijing reacted, she quickly blinked at Chen Mo. Wang Fengxia smiled faintly and said nothing. But at this moment, all her good impression of Chen Mo had disappeared. Grandma Wang, I'm not overestimating my own abilities by challenging that woman. I think I should be able to defeat her and bring back some face for our Nanyang Guqin Association. Chen naturally understood what Wang Fengxia and Xia Zijing meant, so he quickly added a sentence. Young man, being able to play the guqin and playing it well are two different things. Don't think that just because you have studied the guqin for a while, you are qualified to challenge these professional players. Wang Fengxia said lightly. Chen, what are you doing here? This is not a child's game. What if your playing is worse than those amateurs? Wouldn't you be laughed at? Xia Zijing also hurriedly followed suit. I think I can beat that girl, Chen Mo said in a very firm tone. Wang Fengxia couldn't help but laugh. She looked down on Chen Mo's arrogance from the bottom of her heart. Lin Wenhua, I do think this kid's comprehension is a little lacking, but he spends all his 24 hours a day practicing the piano except for sleeping. How about you, young man? How much time do you spend practicing the piano every day? Wang Fengxia asked Chen Mo softly. I haven't touched the guqin in probably almost 10 years, Chen Mo replied calmly, and then continued. But I am still confident that I can beat that woman. I don't know where your confidence comes from. I'll just pretend you never said that. Zijing, take him away. At this time, Wang Fengxia's disgust for Chen Mo seemed to have reached its peak. Grandma Wang, why can't you give me a chance? I came here today to ask you for a favor. If I'm not sure I can win, why should I take the initiative to stand up? Isn't it enough to just tell you what I'm asking for? Chen Mo shouted directly at Wang Fengxia. Xia Zijing couldn't help but be stunned for a moment when looking at Chen Mo. She felt that what Chen Mo said seemed to make a little sense. If Chen Mo can't beat that woman, why should he stand up on his own? Can you really beat that woman? After hesitating for a moment, Xia Zijing asked Chen Mo in a low voice. We can win. Chen Mo nodded. Grandma Wang, why don't you give Chen Mo a chance? It doesn't matter if he loses. If he wins, wouldn't it help you regain your face? This is also a good thing. After seeing how determined Chen Mo was, Xia Zijing finally chose to believe Chen Mo once. Wang Fengxia slowly turned her head to look at Chen Mo and then said calmly, Young man, if you can really beat Su Yu today, as long as it is within my ability, I will agree to do anything you ask me to do for you. Grandma Wang, let's make this clear. Chen Mo grinned. Then I'll be frank with you. If you can't win, I don't want to see you again in this life. Wang Fengxia continued. Okay. Chen Mo nodded directly. Of course, he could hear the deeper meaning in Wang Fengxia's words. If she didn't want to see him in this life, then wasn't the best way to do it to kill himself? But Chen Mo was still confident that Su Yu's piano skills were definitely not better than his. Xia Zijing's eyes were full of nervousness. She knew that if Chen Mo lost today and lost badly, Wang Fengxia might attack Chen Mo. How would she explain to Chu Runting then? Let's go. Wang Fengxia took Chen Mo and walked into the box they had been in before. At this time, Su Yu and others were packing up and preparing to leave. Madam Wang, today's competition ends here. The next competition will be at our Jiangnan Province Guqin competition. I hope that both our city associations can get good results. A middle-aged man said to Wang Fengxia with a smile. This person is Zhou Xinghua, the president of the Xining Guqin Association. President Zhou, don't be so anxious to leave. Lin Wenhua just had a simple sparring match with Su Yu. I have someone here who wants to challenge Su Yu. Wang Fengxia was very angry in her heart, but her face did not show it at all. Anyone else? Zhou Xinghua couldn't help but be stunned for a moment after hearing this, then asked with a smile, Madam Wang, is there any master in your Nanyang city who is better than Lin Wenhua? I don't know. I've never heard this guy play a piano before, but since he has the courage to challenge me, I'll let him have a try. Wang Fengxia said slowly. Well, since we are all here today, we should accept the challenge if someone challenges us. Zhou Xinghua replied with a smile, and then asked Wang Fengxia, Who wants to challenge me? I. Chen Mo walked up to Zhou Xinghua. Zhou Xinghua looked Chen Mo up and down and found that he had never seen Chen Mo before, and he seemed to be even more confused. Chen Mo didn't waste any words and said to Su Yu, Miss Su, I'm not a professional Guqin player, so I haven't learned many repertoires. How about we compete in a Guangling San today? When Chen Mo said this, everyone in the room was shocked. Who is this kid? Yeah, isn't this too pretentious? You don't know many pieces, but you know Guangling San, the most difficult piece in our Guqin world. Is he here to make fun of me? Everyone started discussing in low voices. Wang Fengxia frowned slightly, because she knew the difficulty of Guangling San better than anyone else. There are many people who can play it, but those who can play it with feeling are extremely rare. Su Yu originally had no interest in Chen Mo's challenge, but when she heard that Chen Mo wanted to play Guangling San, The expression on her face changed slightly. Since this gentleman wants to play Guangling San, then I am naturally willing to accompany him. So you spoke for the first time? Her voice is just like the sound of her piano, gentle and pleasant yet charming. Chapter 25, A Crushing Victory. After seeing Su Yu agreed, Chinemo walked directly to Lin Wenhua's side, then smiled and asked Li Wenhua, "Brother, can you lend me your piano?" When everyone in the box heard Chun Mo's words, the expressions on their faces seemed even more speechless. A person who doesn't even have his own zither actually wants to challenge Guangling San. Isn't this a joke? Chun Mo didn't know how difficult Guangling San was, nor did he know what the song meant. He only knew that his mother had taught him a total of 5 or 6 songs, and his mother's evaluation was that Chun Mo's Guangling San played it pretty well, so Chun Mo proposed to play this song. Lin Wenhua hesitated for a moment, then stood up and made way for Chun Mo. "So you seem to be ready." She asked Chun Mo softly, "Do you want to start first or should I?" "Let's go together." Chun Mo replied to Su Yu indifferently. Su Yu was stunned for a moment, then smiled faintly and said nothing. The people around were all filled with astonishment. They couldn't understand where Chun Mo got the confidence to play with Su Yu. When two people compete in piano playing, the one who plays later naturally has the advantage. But if you play them together, there won't be any advantage. When playing together, there may be a situation where the one with weaker piano skills is likely to be influenced by the other, and then mistakes will occur. This is a great test of a pianist's psychology. The girl Su Yu really likes this kind of competition because the more difficult it is, the more excited she becomes. Xia Zijing's beautiful eyes were staring at Chun Mo. She was curious whether Chun Mo was just making trouble or he really had some skills. Chun Mo placed his hands on the strings, and at that moment, Chun Mo's temperament seemed to have undergone a drastic change. Xia Zijing vaguely felt that Chun Mo might have some abilities. Wang Fengxia couldn't help but become curious about Chun Mo's performance. It seemed like many years had passed since she had seen such an arrogant and unmodest person. However, this kind of personality makes Wang Fengxia find it interesting. The prerequisite is that this kid really has some skills. "Start!" An old man shouted expressionlessly. Chun Mo's piano playing and Su Yu's piano playing sounded at the same time. The moment the piano sounded, Wang Fengxia and Xia Zijing's eyes lit up. Because although it was just the beginning, they both could feel that Chun Mo's piano skills were definitely not bad, at least not inferior to Su Yu. After a while, Chun Mo's piano playing gradually took the initiative. Su Yu began to get a little nervous. She deliberately increased her speed, as if she wanted to disturb Chun Mo in this way. But Chun Mo was not affected at all, as if he was immersed in the sound of his own piano. 1 minute later, perhaps because Su Yu wanted to win too much, or perhaps because she was shocked by Chun Mo's piano playing, she began to become distracted. It is originally a very difficult song. If you get distracted, you will definitely make mistakes. As expected, Su Yu's rhythm was completely messed up. She simply stopped playing after a mistake, and Chun Mo continued playing. Everyone present was immersed in Chun Mo's piano playing. Xia Zijing looked in the direction of Chun Mo with shock in her eyes. She had no way of describing how she felt at that moment. Originally, she couldn't understand why Chu Runting chose to be with Chun Mo. But at this time, Xia Zijing seemed to understand something. When Chun Mo plays the piano, he exudes an irresistible charm. Wang Fengxia's lips trembled slightly with excitement. In all these years, she had never seen anyone play Guangling San to such an effect. At this moment, she was very grateful that she did not choose to directly reject Chun Mo, but gave Chun Mo a chance. A few minutes later, Chun Mo's piano playing slowly stopped. Everyone present began to applaud. Some people even felt a little ashamed of their previous disdain for Chun Mo. Chun Mo took a deep breath, then looked at Su Yu opposite him and asked, "Who won?" "You win." Su Yu replied to Chun Mo in a low voice. "Thank you." Chun Mo just smiled faintly. Su Yu hesitated for a moment, put away her guqin, walked up to Chun Mo and asked in a low voice, "What's your name?" "Chun Mo." "Okay, I'll remember your name, and I'll challenge you again in the future." Su Yu held back the tears in her eyes, and after saying this, she turned around and left. Zhou Xingwu couldn't help but glance at Chun Mo. He had originally planned to use today's competition to intimidate Wang Fengxia, but he didn't expect that all his plans would be disrupted by Chun Mo, who appeared out of nowhere. After hesitating for a while, Zhou Xingwu turned his head to look at Wang Fengxia, then whispered, "Madam Wang, I'll take my leave today." Good. Wang Fengxiao nodded happily, then stood up and walked to Chen Mo's side and said, Young man, and Zijing, you two come with me. Xia Zijing had just walked out of Chen Mo's piano music. After hesitating for a moment, she quickly dragged Chen Mo out the door, saying as she walked, I didn't expect you to be so capable. I've just thought about how I'm going to explain today's incident to Runting at your memorial service. Am I really that stupid in your eyes? If I wasn't sure, do you think I would take the initiative to challenge Suyu? Chen Mo said speechlessly. You are definitely not a very smart person in my opinion. Xia Zijing replied to Chen Mo indifferently, then dragged Chen Mo to Wang Fengxiao's room. Wang Fengxiao was particularly enthusiastic towards Chen Mo this time. She shook Chen Mo's hand and said, Xiao Chun, I never thought you could play the guqin so well. Who is your master? Can you introduce him to me? Grandma Wang, I actually never studied guqin seriously. I just studied with my mother for a while when she was little. Chen Mo explained with a smile. What's your mother's name? Wang Fengxia asked hurriedly. Young Nianqi? Chen Mo replied. Wang Fengxia herself didn't like the piano very much, and although Chen Mo's mother was very talented in playing the guqin, she had little influence. So Wang Fengxia didn't react when she heard the name. Xia Zijing looked at Chen Mo with shock in her eyes. She herself had studied piano, so she naturally knew what position Yang Yinxiu held in the piano world. Chen Mo's mother is actually Yang Yinxiu? For a moment, Xia Zijing was at a loss for words about her feelings. Your mother is amazing. She was able to teach a student like you. Didn't you come to me today to ask for something? Tell me, what exactly did you come for? Wang Fengxiao was in a very good mood at the time, so she took the initiative to bring up the matter. Chapter 26. The Humble Son, Qi Zheng. Grandma Wang. Actually, the thing is, Chen Mo is a student of our Nanyang University, but today he was suddenly notified that he was expelled from the school, so he came to you to see if you can think of a way to let him go back to class. Xia Zijing was worried that Chen Mo might say something wrong, so she took the initiative to speak on Chen Mo's behalf. Wang Fengxiao frowned slightly and asked Chen Mo, Xiao Chen, what did you do wrong to be expelled from school? Grandma Wang, the reason the school gave me was that someone reported me for cheating in the last final exam. I was the top student in our department, so I didn't need to cheat at all, and the other party didn't provide any substantial evidence when reporting me. Chen Mo looked at Wang Fengxia and said hurriedly. Wang Fengxia nodded slowly. She now understood what was going on. It seems that you have offended someone, and you can't afford to offend this person, so you come to me, right? Wang Fengxia asked with a smile. Right. Chen Mo quickly nodded at Wang Fengxia. Okay, wait a moment. Wang Fengxia took out her cell phone directly, found a number, and dialed it. Xiao Sun, come here for a moment. Yes, that's my club. Wang Fengxia said a few words expressionlessly and then hung up the phone. Xiao Chan, let's wait a moment. After putting down the phone, Wang Fengxia said with a smile. Okay. Chen Mo nodded quickly. Next, Wang Fengxia began to talk to Chen Mo about the guqin. Xia Zijing also liked the guqin very much, so she listened quietly. It has to be said that Chen Mo knows a lot about the guqin and has many unique insights. This made Xia Zijing and Wang Fengxia look at Chen Mo with even greater respect. The three of us chatted for about half an hour. There was a slow knock on the door. Come in. Wang Fengxia shouted expressionlessly. An old man who should be around 60 years old walked slowly into the room. When Chen Mo saw the old man, she couldn't help but flash a hint of shock in her eyes, because she didn't expect that Wang Fengxiao would directly call the president of Nanyang University with just one phone call. Hello, President Wang. Sun Qizhen greeted Wang Fengxia nervously. At this time, he was not clear about why Wang Fengxia called him over. Wang Fengxia is not only the president of the board of directors of Nanyang University, but also has a terrifying influence in Nanyang City. It is no exaggeration to say that whether the president of Nanyang University can continue to serve until retirement depends entirely on Wang Fengxia's opinion. Wang Fengxia glanced at Sun Qizhen calmly, and then said calmly, Xiao Sun, this student is from your Nanyang University. Do you know him? Sun Qizhen turned his head and looked at Chen Mo. A hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. After all, there are at least tens of thousands of students at Nanyang University, and it is impossible for me to know everyone. I don't know him. Sun Qizhen shook his head slightly. You don't even know the student you just expelled today? Wang Fengxia couldn't help but sneer. After hearing this, Sun Qizhen's expression changed instantly. He suddenly turned his head to look at Chen Mo and stammered, Classmate, are you Chen Mo? Kindness. Chen Mo nodded slightly. It was the first time he saw the president of Nanyang University being so nervous. President Wang, I didn't know Chun Mo actually knew you. Didn't the flood flush the Dragon King temple? Sun Qijin was so nervous that he didn't know what to say. Xiao Sun, tell me the truth. Do you have any evidence to prove that your school expelled Chun Mo? Wang Fengxia asked Sun Qijin expressionlessly. Sun Qijin took a deep breath and whispered, President Wang, since you asked me this, I dare not hide it from you. We have no evidence that Chun Mo cheated in the final exam, and I did not make the decision to expel him. It seems that Chun Mo did not lie to me. He was indeed wronged. But I can't understand why you were the president of Nanyang University. If it wasn't you who made the decision to expel the student, who else could have made it? Wang Fengxia asked slowly. This? Sun Qijin seemed a little hesitant. Since you're already here, just say what you want to say directly. Don't be so hesitant. Wang Fengxia frowned and looked down upon Sun Qijin's timid attitude. President Wang, it was Director Huang who called me personally and asked me to fire Chun Mo. Sun Qijin didn't dare to hide it any longer at this time and could only reply in a low voice. It turned out to be that girl Huang Lei. Wang Fengxia smiled, then looked in the direction of Chun Mo and asked, Xiao Chun, when did you offend Huang Lei? Grandma Wang, I didn't offend Huang Lei, but her daughter Su Mubai has been pestering me recently, wanting me to break up with my girlfriend and be with her, but I didn't agree. Chun Mo explained helplessly. Xia Zijing stared at Chun Mo with wide eyes, an incredible expression on her face. In fact, Xia Zijing had heard Chun Mo say this before, but she thought Chun Mo was just joking and didn't take it seriously at all. But at this time, Chun Mo actually said this in front of Wang Fengxia and Sun Qijin, which means that this matter might be true. That little girl Su Mubai actually likes you. Wang Fengxia seemed to have a close relationship with the Su family, so she couldn't help but smile, and then continued. That little girl has always been very arrogant. Even my grandson looked down on her. I didn't expect that she actually fell in love with you. Chun Mo looked at Wang Fengxia and didn't know what to say. He didn't know whether Wang Fengxia was praising him or saying that Su Mubai had no vision. Okay, Xiao Sun, I know this matter has nothing to do with you. You can go now, Wang Fengxia said to Sun Qijin. Sun Qijin hesitated for a moment, then smiled and said, President Wang, do you want me to revoke this punishment on Chun Mo? This is what Huang Lei asked you to do. If you cancel the punishment now, don't you have to give her an explanation? I will handle this matter. Wait for my call, Wang Fengxia said lightly. Thank you for your understanding, President Wang. I won't bother you anymore. Sun Qizheng also let out a long sigh. After all, he was the most uncomfortable one being caught between these two people. Before leaving, Sun Qizheng did not forget to take another look at Chun Mo and then secretly memorize Chun Mo's appearance in his heart. A student who could file a complaint with Wang Fengxia must have an unusual background. Chapter 27. I'm not a butler. After Sun Qizheng left, Wang Fengxia glanced at Chun Mo calmly and said softly, Xiao Chun, this matter is not going to be easy for you. I didn't expect that the person you offended was Huang Lei. That girl is not easy to mess with. Besides, after I retire in 2 years, the position of the chairman of the board of directors of your Nanyang University should be hers. Grandma Wang, since you are in trouble, I won't bother you anymore. Chun Mo was not a fool. He naturally understood the meaning of Wang Fengxia's words, so he replied with a smile. Chun Mo, what are you talking about? Xia Zijing hurriedly pulled Chun Mo and then continued. Grandma Wang just said that it is difficult to do, but Grandma Wang did not say that it cannot be done. There is nothing that Grandma Wang cannot do in Nanyang City, right, Grandma Wang? Wang Fengxia looked at Xia Zijing with a helpless smile, then said calmly, You are such a smart girl. Otherwise, why would I like you? Chun Mo suddenly understood what was going on after listening to their conversation, and quickly said to Wang Fengxia, Grandma Wang, if you have any requests, just tell me directly. I will definitely do what I can do. What could a big shot like Grandma Wang ask you for help? Xia Zijing smiled and continued. In a few months, the Jiangnan province Guqin competition will be held. You don't have any other skills, but you play the Guqin pretty well. Why don't you represent Nanyang City to participate in the competition? It would be best if you can get a good ranking. That's no problem. Even if Grandma Wang doesn't want to help me with this matter, I will definitely go through fire and water and die for her if she says so. Chun Mo began to cooperate with Xia Zijing. Wang Fengxia's face was full of helplessness. She really didn't want to get involved in this matter. After all, Huang Lei was not easy to deal with, not to mention offending the Su family. However, Xia Zijing took the initiative to bring up the matter of the Jiangnan province Guqin competition, and Wang Fengxia naturally changed her mind. Lin Wenhua definitely can't be counted on, but if Chun Mo participates, he will definitely be able to get a good ranking. Okay, you two stop acting with me here. Wang Fengxiao waved her hand, then looked at Chun Mo and said, "How about this? You will represent Nanyang City in the Guqin competition in 3 months, but I have made a promise that you must bring me a championship." No problem. Chun Mo nodded without even thinking. As for your expulsion, Wang Fengxiao hesitated for a moment, then said softly, "I will hold a cocktail party in this club at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Huang Lei will definitely come to attend. You can come directly. I will tell Huang Lei about this matter in front of the two of you. She should not lose face for me." "Thank you, Grandma Wang." Before Chen Mo could react, Xia Zijing rushed to shout, "Kid, if you hadn't told me, I would have thought Chen Mo was your boyfriend." Wang Fengxiao looked at Xia Zijing with helplessness in her eyes. "Grandma Wang, it's getting late. You should rest as well. Chen Mo, and I won't disturb you," Xia Zijing said with a smile. "Okay, go ahead." Wang Fengxia seemed a little tired, so she waved her hand gently. Xia Zijing put on sunglasses, a hat, and a mask, then dragged Chun Mo outside. A few minutes later, Chen Mo and Xia Zijing left the club. "Okay, you finally got it done. You must perform well in the Guqin competition in 3 months. If Grandma Wang is happy, you will have completely stood up in Nanyang City." Xia Zijing looked at Chun Mo and seemed to feel relieved. "Thank you so much today." Chun Mo looked at Xia Zijing very seriously and said, "Why are you so polite all of a sudden? First of all, I'm helping Runting, not you. Also, you do have some skills and play the Guqin well. Otherwise, even if a god came, he couldn't save you from this incident today," Xia Zijing said slowly. But at this moment, Chen Mo suddenly reached out and touched Xia Zijing's hat. "What are you doing?" Xia Zijing was stunned for a moment. "Your hat is twisted. Let me straighten it for you," Chen Mo replied to Xia Zijing with a helpless tone. After Xia Zijing found out that Chen Mo was indeed helping her adjust her hat, she didn't say much. However, Chen Mo and Xia Zijing might not have noticed that the scene of Chen Mo and Xia Zijing adjusting their hats was captured by a young man not far away with his mobile phone. "It's getting late. Please take me back to the hotel first." Xia Zijing looked at Chen Mo and said, "Okay." Chen Mo knew that Xia Zijing had helped him a lot today, so he readily agreed to Xia Zijing's request. The two of them took Xia Zijing's nanny car directly to the hotel where Xia Zijing was. Because Xia Zijing bought a lot of things this afternoon, Chen Mo carried these things and went upstairs with Xia Zijing. The scene of the two of them entering the hotel together was also captured by the stalker. A big star of Xia Zijing's level must stay in a 5-star hotel, so the environment inside the presidential suite is very good. Chen Mo placed the things Xia Zijing bought directly at the door, and then said to Xia Zijing, "Okay, my task for today is completed. I can leave now." "Okay, but report to me on time at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." Xia Zijing casually kicked off her high heels and spoke to Chen Mo in a nonchalant tone. "What did you say?" Chen Mo was stunned when he heard Xia Zijing's words. "Come find me here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Why don't your ears work well yet?" Xia Zijing repeated calmly. "Why should I come to see you tomorrow?" Chen Mo asked with his eyes wide open. "Go shopping with me?" Xia Zijing said softly. "Big sister, I'm not your servant. Why should I accompany you shopping? Besides, haven't we been shopping all afternoon today?" Chen Mo looked at Xia Zijing and saw that she seemed to be a little overwhelmed. Why did he feel that Xia Zijing seemed to be treating him like a male servant? Xia Zijing glanced at Chun Mo calmly, then said softly, "You don't want to go? It doesn't matter if you don't want to go. I'll call Grandma Wang now, and you don't have to do your business." Xia Zijing, "Are you going a bit too far?" Chun Mo gritted his teeth and shouted at Xia Zijing, "I am just such an extreme person. What can you do to me?" Xia Zijing asked with a smile on her face. Chapter 28. She doesn't like men? Chun Mo looked at Xia Zijing in front of him and had the urge to pin this woman to the bed and give her a good beating. But he had no choice but to endure it as he still needed help from others. "Whether you're going or not, just give me a straight answer." Xia Zijing waved the phone in her hand at Chen Mo. Chen Mo took a deep breath, then gritted his teeth and said, "You can go, but I have a request." "What do you want?" Xia Zijing asked with a smile. "My home is a little too far from here. In order not to affect your shopping time tomorrow, can you also book a room for me in this hotel?" Chen Mo said in a low voice. "That's all you want?" Xia Zijing looked at Chen Mo in shock. "Yes, that's the request." Chen Montak nodded. Xia Zijing looked at Chen Mo and burst into laughter. She thought Chen Mo would make some requests, but she didn't expect that he would just ask for a room. You really made me laugh to death. Xia Zijing looked at Chen Mo and said, "Open a presidential suite for me, and I'll enjoy it," Chen Mo said in a low voice. "Okay, I'll call the front desk now." Xia Zijing picked up the phone and started calling. 10 minutes later, Chen Mo finally got his wish and moved into the presidential suite next to Xia Zijing. The price of this room for one night is almost more expensive than Chun Mo's annual rent, but the bed is indeed very comfortable. Chen Mo lay on the bed, took out his mobile phone, and sent a video directly to Chu Runting. "My dear, what are you doing?" Chen Mo asked in a very corny way. "What else can I do? I just came home from a dinner party and am going to take a shower and rest. I am so exhausted." Chu Runting leaned on the sofa with a tired look on her face, and then continued to ask, "How are your affairs going?" "Not bad. Wang Fengxia has agreed to help. I'm going to attend one of her cocktail parties tomorrow. Please help me deal with this matter then." Chen Montag replied softly. "Okay. I'm relieved that nothing's wrong with you," Chu Runting said softly. "But your best friend Xia Zijing seems to be a little bit strange. She uses me as a male servant every day. I accompanied her shopping all afternoon this afternoon, and she wants me to accompany her shopping tomorrow. Is she your friend or your enemy?" This was the reason why Chen Mo called Chu Runting. He had to file a complaint. Zijing usually spends most of her time filming dramas and variety shows. She doesn't have much time for herself. She finally gets a few days off and helps you deal with this matter, so it's normal for her to ask you to accompany her shopping. Chu Runting replied to Chen Mo while removing her makeup. Looking at Chu Runting in the video, Chen Mo couldn't help but secretly sigh in his heart that he was really lucky. Chu Runting seemed to be even more beautiful without makeup than with it. "There's nothing wrong with shopping. I'm just worried that Xia Zijing might be planning something bad to me," Chen Mo said slowly. "Baby, your worry is really unnecessary," Chu Runting said speechlessly as she looked at Chen Mo, who was conceited in the video. "You have so little confidence in me? If I can take you down, why can't I take Xia Zijing down?" Chen Mo said quickly. "If you can take down Xia Zijing, I am willing to be your concubine. There is no problem for both of us to serve you together." Chu Runting replied in a very simple and rude manner. After hearing this sentence, Chen Mo instantly had a picture in his mind. It was a bit too exciting. What a heavenly life it would be for these two extremely beautiful women to be together. "Chen Mo, what are you grinning about?" Chu Runting shouted directly. Chen Mo quickly smiled and said, "Nothing. Nothing. Why are you so sure that I can't handle Xia Zijing?" "Because Zijing doesn't like men," Chu Runting said calmly. "What?" Chen Mo was dumbfounded again, staring at Chu Runting with wide eyes. "She's not interested in men, so don't be so self-indulgent. And I'm also very relieved that you two are in contact." Chu Runting continued. "She actually, Chen Mo didn't know what to say for a moment. "Okay, I'm going to take a shower. I'm hanging up now," Chu Runting said lightly. "Don't hang up. I'll chat with you while you take a shower. Otherwise, you can take a shower alone." Before Chen Mo could finish his words, Chu Runting ruthlessly hung up the video. Chen Mo could only lie on the bed alone, recalling what Chu Runting had just said. He never thought that such a perfect woman like Xia Zijing would actually dislike men. Isn't this really a bit of a waste? Isn't this a pure waste of resources? 8:30 the next morning. Chen Mo, who was still sleeping soundly, was awakened by a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he found that Xia Zijing was fully armed. She was wearing a black hip-hugging miniskirt. Her slender white legs were not wearing stockings. She was stepping on a blue high-heeled mat. Her delicate toes were painted with light pink nail polish, which was very attractive. "Have you forgotten what I told you yesterday?" "Chen Mo, what time is it now? I knocked on your door for a full half hour." Xia Zijing walked into Chen Mo's room, wearing sexy high heels, and asked Chen Mo aggressively, "Give me 10 minutes. I'll wash up and leave right away." Chen Mo quickly replied to Xia Zijing, then turned around and ran into the bathroom. Xia Zijing sat beside the bed with a helpless look on her face and waited. While washing his face, Chen Mo turned his head to look at Xia Zijing, who was sitting on the bed. He had to say that this woman's legs were really long, but it was a pity that she didn't like men. A few minutes later, Chen Mo and Xia Zijing walked out of the hotel one after another and got directly into Xia Zijing's nanny car. The young man who had been waiting outside for a whole night had a hint of excitement in his eyes after seeing this scene. He took several photos in succession before leaving with satisfaction. Chen Mo followed Xia Zijing around the street for the entire morning. He couldn't understand why Xia Zijing was so good at shopping. It seemed like she never felt tired while shopping. At noon, Chen and Mo finally found a chance to take a break, and Xia Zijing randomly found a restaurant to eat something. Shall we go shopping this afternoon? Chen and Mo asked Xia Zijing cautiously. No more shopping. You can accompany me to get a manicure and then take me to the airport. I have to fly to Beijing to film tonight. The short and happy vacation time is finally over, Xia Zijing said with some sadness. Chen and Mo couldn't help but laugh. Why are you laughing? Xia Zijing stared at Chen and Mo with her big watery eyes and shouted. I'm not laughing. Chen Montag explained Zolmovat Alkvatli. Xia Zijing was not polite at all and stepped hard on Chen Mo's instep with her high heels. Chapter 29, Cocktail Party. Nanyang City, inside the general manager's office of Wei Group. A handsome and imposing young man is looking at the contract on the computer screen seriously. This person is the eldest son of the Wei family in Nanyang City, Wei Zichen. He is also the general manager of Wei Group. And just at this moment, there was a knock on the door. Komi? Wei Zichen called out lightly. A young man hurried into Wei Zichen's office and placed several photos in front of Wei Zichen. Wei Zichen glanced at the photo on the table calmly, and his expression changed instantly. Because these photos are of Chen Mo and Xia Zijing. There were two people engaging in intimate behavior in front of the club, and two others entered the hotel as a couple and left the next morning. Although Xia Zijing was wearing a hat, mask, and sunglasses in the photo, Wei Zichen could still be sure that the woman was Xia Zijing. Wei Zichen has liked Xia Zijing for many years, and has always had someone follow Xia Zijing all these years. Perhaps because Xia Zijing herself doesn't like men, Wei Zichen has never found Xia Zijing having excessive contact with the opposite sex over the years. And Chen Mo was the first one. Who is this person? Have you investigated his identity? Wei Zichen asked in a low voice to the young man in front of him. Of course I've investigated it for you. All the information about this kid is here. The young man smiled and took out a document and placed it in front of Wei Zichen. Wei Zichen took a very serious look at it. He's just a poor student? Why would Xia Zijing fall in love with such a person? After Wei Zichen finished reading Chen Mo's information, the expression on his face seemed even more confused. Miss Xia is not short of money. Isn't it just her preference that determines who she likes? The young man replied with a smile. Wei Zichen felt that the young man's words made some sense, so after hesitating for a moment, he said calmly, I'll give you a week to bring this person to me, and just leave him with a breath. And the reward? The young man asked a little excitedly. Go to the finance department first and get 1 million. I'll give you the rest when you bring the person here. Wei Zichen said expressionlessly. Okay, you go ahead and do your work. The young man smiled happily, then turned around and left. Wei Zichen casually threw Chen Mo's information and photos aside. After all these years, this was the first time he met someone competing with him for Xia Zijing, but unfortunately the other party was just a poor student, so he couldn't attract much attention from Wei Zichen at all. In this world, getting rid of a poor student with no identity and no background is just a matter of words for him. On the other side, after accompanying Xia Zijing to finish her manicure, Chen Mo directly sent the big star to the airport, and he also completely regained his freedom. After regaining his freedom, the first thing Chen Mo did was to run back home and have a good sleep. He had been exhausted by Xia Zijing's torture these past 2 days. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Chen Mo was awakened by the alarm clock. He picked up his mobile phone and took a look. There were several photos sent to him by Chu Runting. Chu Runting should be riding a horse. There was also a message from Xia Zijing, telling him that she had gotten off the plane and reminding Chen Mo not to forget today's cocktail party. Chen Mo couldn't help but smile when he read the news about Xia Zijing. After getting to know her, he felt that this big star was actually quite good. The only pity was that she didn't like men. After he simply replied with a thank you, he called Chu Runting. After the two chatted briefly for a while, Chen Mo changed into the suit Xia Zijing gave him and left home. The cocktail party started at 7 in the evening, and Chen Mo arrived at the club at around 6. When Chen Mo got out of the taxi, he found that the club was obviously much more lively today than yesterday. Not only were there many luxury cars parked outside, but there were also people coming and going inside the club. The waiter who was in charge of receiving Chen Mo and Xia Zijing yesterday recognized Chen Mo at a glance, and then hurried over and said with a smile, Mr. Chen, are you here to attend the cocktail party today? Right. Chen Mo nodded slightly. Let me take you there, the waitress said very enthusiastically. Chen Mo originally planned to contact Wang Fengxia, but he thought that with so many guests coming, Wang Fengxia should be very busy, so he did not call to disturb her, but followed the waiter inside. Soon the waiter took Chin Mo into a very spacious hall. At this time, there were already quite a few people in the hall. It could be seen from their dress, speech, and temperament that they were not ordinary people. Although it was a Western-style cocktail party, a soothing Guqin piece was still playing in the hall. From this point, we can see that Wang Fengxiao really likes Guqin. Mr. Chun, I am not qualified to enter. Please go in by yourself. The waitress spoke softly to Chen Mo. Okay, thank you. Chen Mo nodded slowly, then walked into the hall. After entering the hall, Chen Mo actually began to miss Xia Zijing. Because he didn't know anyone in the hall, if Xia Zijing was here, he wouldn't be so embarrassed. After hesitating for a while, Chen Mo saw cakes and red wine placed at the innermost part of the hall. He happened to have not eaten dinner tonight, so he walked over. Chen Mo simply picked up a few pieces of pastries and placed them on the plate, then picked up a glass of red wine and found an empty sofa and sat down. Just as Chen Mo was chatting with Chu Runting on his phone and eating pastries, he suddenly saw a familiar figure out of the corner of his eye. Su Mubai, wearing a white evening gown and exquisite high heels, walked slowly into the hall. I have to say that Su Mubai is a really beautiful girl, especially when she wears that handmade custom evening dress. She really looks like a princess. The design of the evening dress is very eye-catching, exposing about 80% of Su Mubai's slender and long legs. This length not only allows people to see how long Su Mubai's legs are, but also leaves a little room for imagination. When Su Mubai appeared, he instantly became the focus. Many young people gathered around Su Mubai, but Chen Mo had no interest in Su Mubai at all. He continued to eat his cakes quietly. However, Chen Mo did not notice at this time that there was a person in the corner of the hall who was staring at him. And this person is none other than Chu Runting's crazy pursuer Li Haoyu. Chapter 30. What can you do to me? When Li Haoyu saw Chen Mo, his expression was very confused because he couldn't understand why Chen Mo appeared at this cocktail party. This cocktail party was not held by Wang Fengxia to resolve the conflict between Chen Mo and Su Mubai. Instead, it is an annual gathering of business tycoons in Nanyang City. Wang Fengxia has a very large network of contacts in Nanyang City, and she is not reluctant to share this network with others. Therefore, several cocktail parties are held almost every year to help people from big families expand their network of contacts. This is also the reason why many young, rich second generations also showed up at this cocktail party. After all, it is not just the older generation who needs to expand their network of contacts. The connections of the younger generation are equally important. The last time Li Haoyu left Chu Runting's house, he directly conducted a very detailed investigation on Chen Mo. Although he found out that Chen Mo was indeed the son of Chen Nantian and Yang Ningxiu, Chen Mo has now been kicked out of the Chen family. To put it nicely, Chen Mo is a poor young master from a big family. To put it bluntly, he is just a poor loser and a poor student. It does seem a little unbelievable that a poor student would appear in such an occasion. Could it be that Chu Runting brought him in? Li Haoyu hesitated for a moment, but he felt that this situation was impossible because Chu Runting was not in Nanyang City at all. At this moment, Chen Mo was still eating the pastries on the plate. Since the cocktail party started, most people have only taken the red wine, and no one has touched the food on the plates. But Chen Mo is an exception. Who is that handsome guy? She doesn't seem to be from our circle. She looks pretty good, but this should be her first time attending a cocktail party like this. Why is she staring at the cakes? Why does this person look so familiar to me? You know what, I think I've seen you somewhere before. Several beautiful socialites in evening gowns gathered together and talked in low voices. The circle of the rich second generation in Nanyang City is so small, so when a new face suddenly appears, these people can naturally spot it at first sight. And Chen Mo's appearance is pretty good. Except for Xia Zijing, who thinks he is a little ugly, basically no one thinks Chen Mo is ugly. In addition, he was wearing a suit that Xia Zijing had spent tens of thousands of dollars to buy, and his whole demeanor looked much more energetic. Some socialites even wanted to get in touch with Chen Mo. However, Chen Mo had no interest in these socialites. After all, there was a big gap between these mediocre women and top beauties like Chu Runting. However, at this moment, the crowd at the door made a noise again. A young man in a white Armani suit walked slowly into the hall. This person was none other than Wei Zichen, the son of the Wei family. Countless people gathered around Wei Zichen and began to greet him. The Wei family's strength in Nanyang City is no weaker than that of the Su family and the Chu family. They are all top-notch families. When the socialites in the hall saw this handsome young man, they all showed an infatuated expression. Oh my god, Master Wei is so handsome. Yes, he's rich and handsome. He's definitely my dream man. You'd better stop dreaming. Everyone knows that young Master Wei likes Xia Zijing. How can we compare with such a big star? Several girls standing next to Chun and Mo couldn't help but start talking. After hearing that this young man liked Xia Zijing, Chun and Mo subconsciously looked in the direction of Wei Zichen and couldn't help but secretly sigh in his heart that Wei Zichen was really unlucky. He could like anyone else, but Xia Zijing. Doesn't he know that Xia Zijing doesn't like men at all? This is not a waste of time. However, at this moment, the young man following Wei Zichen saw Chun and Mo sitting on the sofa. The moment the young man saw Chun and Mo, his expression changed instantly. He quickly reached out and pulled Wei Zichen, then whispered, Zichen, come with me. I have something important to tell you. Good. Wei Zichen nodded slightly, then followed the young man to the corner. What is it? Wei Zichen asked softly. I saw the guy dating Xia Zijing. The young man said directly. What did you say? When Wei Zichen heard the young man's words, the expression on his face changed instantly. Just sitting in the innermost part eating cake, the young man stretched out his hand and pointed in the direction where Chen Mo was at the moment. Wei Zichen turned his head and looked over, then couldn't help but sneered and said lightly, It's true that enemies meet on a narrow road. I didn't expect that I would run into this guy here. Didn't you investigate this kid's identity before? He is just a poor student. How could he be qualified to attend this cocktail party? The young man asked Wei Zichen with great confusion. How should I know? Wei Zichen replied calmly, and then continued. No matter how he got in, we must talk to him and tell him to stay away from Xia Zijing. Isn't it appropriate for you to go? How about I go and talk to him for you? The young man said after hesitating for a moment. I will go there myself. Wei Zichen didn't hesitate at all and walked straight towards Chen Mo. A moment later, Wei Zichen came to Chen Mo and sat opposite him without asking for his opinion. Chen Mo glanced at Wei Zichen indifferently, not understanding what the other party meant, but he did not choose to speak first. Your name is Chen Mo, and you're a student at Nanyang University, right? Wei Zichen asked directly. Yes, what's wrong? Chen Mo replied softly. I don't care what your relationship with Xia Zijing is now. From now on, stay away from Xia Zijing. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. Do you understand? Wei Zichen seemed to not take Chen Mo seriously at all and threatened him in a cold voice. Chen Mo slowly raised his head and glanced at Wei Zichen. If Wei Zichen had spoken to Chen Mo in a nicer tone at this time, Chen Mo might have softened his heart and directly told Wei Zichen that Xia Zijing didn't like men, thus saving him from wasting his energy. But he didn't expect that Wei Zichen would start threatening him right away. Chen Mo has always had a good temper, but he just doesn't like being threatened by anyone, nor does he like being threatened by men who are more handsome and richer than him. I won't stay away from Xia Zijing. What can you do to me? Chen Mo threw the cake in his hand directly onto the table, then asked Wei Zichen with a smile while squinting his eyes. Wei Zichen looked at Chen Mo in front of him, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, because he never thought that Chen Mo would dare to speak to him like that. For a moment, an unprecedented anger burned in my heart. However, Wei Zichen knew that this cocktail party was hosted by Wang Fengxia, so he didn't dare to cause trouble at the party. Do you know who I am? Wei Zichen gently loosened his tie and asked Chen Mo. Just Xia Zijing's pursuer. Chen Mo said calmly. You. Wei Zichen couldn't help but grit his teeth, then said in a cold voice. If you don't know me, I can briefly introduce myself. I am. Who you are has nothing to do with me. How close I am to Xia Zijing has nothing to do with you. I hate the way you act in front of me, so either you beat me up right now, but you may not have the courage, so please get out of my sight right now, do you understand? Chen Mo didn't even wait for Wei Zichen to finish his words, and spoke directly to Wei Zichen in a cold voice. For a moment, Wei Zichen looked at Chen Mo's face with an extremely angry expression. Are you angry? If you are angry, just hit me. Chen Mo said to Wei Zichen in a mean way. Okay, just wait for me. Today I will let you know what happens if you offend me. Wei Zichen realized that he had no chance of winning the argument with Chen Mo, so he didn't waste any more time and just got up and left. Wei Zichen walked up to the young man angrily. The chat wasn't very effective, was it? The young man asked Wei Zichen with a smile. This kid seems to have something wrong with his brain. I really don't understand where he got the courage to talk to me like this. Wei Zichen drank a glass of red wine in one breath and said in a low voice. It's better to teach this kind of people a lesson. The young man said calmly. This is Wang Fengxiao's cocktail party. I can't do anything yet. Otherwise, do you think this kid can still sit there now? Wei Zichen kept adjusting his breathing. After all these years, Chinemo might be the first person who made him so angry. It's true that this is Grandma Wang's cocktail party, but as long as we can find a suitable excuse, Grandma Wang may not be angry if we deal with a poor student. The young man sneered. What good ideas do you have? Wei Zichen turned his head and looked at the young man. The young man whispered a few words in Wei Zichen's ear. How about it? The young man asked with a smile. Okay, I'll do as you say. As long as you take care of this guy, I'll give you the benefits. Wei Zichen nodded directly. What is the relationship between us? Am I helping you just for your benefit? The young man patted Wei Zichen on the shoulder, then walked out of the hall and started making a phone call. The young man who was giving advice to Wei Zichen at this time was called Gao Fei and was from the Gao family in Nanyang City. The Gao family cannot compare with big families like the Wei family, the Chu family, and the Su family in Nanyang City, but it can also be regarded as a quasi-first-tier family. Gao Fei often plays with Wei Zichen on weekdays, and they have a very good relationship. About 10 minutes later, Gao Fei came to Wei Zichen with a slim, pretty girl wearing a white miniskirt. Master Wei, let me introduce you. This is my new secretary, He Jiao Jiao, Gao Fei said to Wei Zichen. Hello, Master Wei. He Jiao Jiao greeted Wei Zichen very sensibly. Wei Zichen looked He Jiao Jiao up and down and found that this woman was good-looking, with long legs and big breasts, and was very sexy and fashionable. Have you finished telling her everything? Wei Zichen asked Gao Fei. It's all said. Gao Fei nodded quickly. I won't say any more nonsense. I'll give you 300,000 after the deal is done. Do you understand what I mean? Wei Zichen said to He Jiao Jiao in a cold voice. Understood. After hearing this number, He Jiao Jiao's eyes were filled with excitement, and she nodded quickly. Go ahead, Wei Zichen said calmly. He Jiao Jiao took a deep breath, and then turned her gaze to Chun Mo not far away. She walked towards Chun Mo gracefully in her high heels. At this moment, Chun Mo's mind was completely focused on chatting with Chu Runting, so he didn't notice He Jiao Jiao running towards him at all. Hello, handsome. Can I sit next to you? He Jiao Jiao asked Chun Mo softly. What are you doing sitting next to me? Chun Mo replied calmly. He Jiao Jiao was stunned for a moment. She never expected Chun Mo to say such a thing. I feel dizzy. He Jiao Jiao saw that seducing Chun Mo was not working, so she had to choose another option. That is to pretend to faint and fall towards Chun Mo. Chun Mo reacted quickly, hugged He Jiao Jiao's slender waist, and said helplessly, Why are you so angry? You are so angry because I don't let you sit next to me. When He Jiao Jiao heard Chun Mo's words, the expression on her face was as devastated as could be. But she still did not forget her current mission. He Jiao Jiao quickly messed up her clothes and hair and put Chun Mo's hand on her body, then shouted loudly, Someone come! Someone is being a hooligan. After He Jiao Jiao finished shouting this, it seemed as if everyone in the hall turned their heads to look in Chun Mo's direction. Even Su Mubai looked in the direction of the voice. Then she froze in place. Su Mubai didn't expect that Chun Mo would also be at this cocktail party. However, Su Mubai was not particularly surprised about this matter. After all, whether it was Chu Runting's connections or Mu Rushue's connections, they could bring Chun Mo here. What surprised her was that Chun Mo was actually molesting a woman at this time. For a moment, Su Mubai couldn't figure out what was going on. Li Haoyu's eyes widened, and the expression on his face began to become inexplicably excited. Because he knew that if Chun Mo molested a woman at the party, then Chun Mo would definitely be dead. Even if he was lucky enough to escape this disaster, the Chu family would probably not agree to Chun Mo continuing to be with Chu Runting. Isn't it your chance? Chun Mo himself remained relatively calm and first sent a message to Chu Runting with his other hand. Wait for me for a moment. I have to deal with a problem first. What's the trouble? Chu Runting asked hurriedly. Someone said I molested her. Chapter 32. Women's minds are hard to understand. When He Jiao Jiao shouted the word molest, Chun Mo instantly became the focus of everyone present. Everyone turned their heads and looked in Chun Mo's direction. However, what these people never expected was that Chun Mo's first reaction was not to let go of He Jiao Jiao in his arms, but to continue chatting with Chu Runting on the phone. Who did you molest? I told you. Someone wrongly accused me of molesting her. Then you must have done something to her. Otherwise, how could she accuse you of molesting her? I didn't do anything. I was just chatting with you. You have time to molest other women while chatting with me? Chinemo, you are really getting bolder and bolder. What do you mean I'm brave? I'm being wrong. Come on, call me. I want to hear you explain to me on the phone. Sister, there are so many people watching. How can I make a phone call? Chinemo looked at the messages sent by Chu runting on the mobile phone screen, and the expression on his face was as devastated as possible. Jiao Jiao didn't know what to do at this moment. It was the first time she had seen such a situation. Why was this person simply ignoring her? It's indecent. It's indecent. Jiao Jiao had no choice but to continue shouting loudly. Stop yelling. I'm explaining to my girlfriend. Chinemo scolded Jiao Jiao speechlessly. Who the hell is this kid? Yeah, this is too arrogant. He molested someone and didn't even let them scream. You have no shame at all for doing such a thing in broad daylight. As more and more people gathered around, they couldn't help but talk in low voices. And Chinemo finally explained everything clearly to Chu Runting. Let go of my girlfriend. Just when Chinemo took back his phone, Gao Fei rushed out from the crowd and shouted at Chinemo with an excited expression. Chinemo glanced at Gao Fei indifferently, then looked at Wei Zichen behind Gao Fei and instantly understood what was going on. I didn't expect you to use such an old-fashioned method to deal with me. Chinemo couldn't help but sigh secretly in his heart. Let my girlfriend go. Gao Fei glared at Chinemo and shouted. Oh. Chinemo replied to Gao Fei very calmly, and then pushed Jiao Jiao in his arms in front of Gao Fei. Jiao Jiao, are you okay? Gao Fei pretended to be very concerned and asked Jiao Jiao in an excited tone. Hubby, he just molested me, pulled my clothes, and touched me. It is obvious that Jiao Jiao's acting skills are much better than Gao Fei's. She pretended to look pitiful and spoke in a delicate voice. Li Haoyu was standing in the crowd, so excited that he didn't know how to express his feelings. He was very clear about the strength of the Gao family. Chun Mo molested Gao Fei's girlfriend in front of so many people. Even if a god came today, it would be of no use. Su Mubai frowned. She vaguely felt that something was wrong. Because she and Chin Mo had known each other for quite some time, she knew Chin Mo's character very well, and it was unlikely that he would do such a thing in such an occasion. More importantly, Su Mubai saw that there was no trace of panic or guilt on Chin Mo's face. You are so bold that you even dared to molest my Gao Fei's girlfriend. Gao Fei took a step forward and shouted at Chin Mo with wide eyes. Chin Mo glanced at Gao Fei calmly, then asked Gao Fei expressionlessly, I have committed indecent assault today. What can you do to me? When Chun Mo said this, the whole place was in an uproar. No one had ever thought that Chun Mo would be so arrogant. He totally didn't take Gao Fei seriously. Originally, Gao Fei was planning to waste some time arguing with Chin Mo, but he didn't expect Chin Mo to actually admit it on his own initiative, which saved him a lot of effort. Make way, everyone! However, at this moment, a middle-aged man rushed into the hall with more than a dozen security guards. Everyone quickly made way. Master Gao, what's going on? The cocktail party is about to start in 20 minutes. The middle-aged man asked Gao Fei helplessly. Manager Wang, you came at the perfect time. This guy just molested my girlfriend. I'm going to break his hands and throw him out of here. Gao Fei shouted excitedly. Break both hands? Chin Mo couldn't help but smile, thinking secretly that Wei Zichen and Gao Fei were really ruthless. Molested your girlfriend at a cocktail party? After hearing what Gao Fei said, Manager Wang couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, because it was the first time he heard of such a thing happening in all these years. It would be unlikely for any intelligent person to do such a thing. Right, Gao Fei nodded. Okay, take this kid away. Manager Wang had a good relationship with Gao Fei. He felt that Gao Fei would never joke about such a thing, so he didn't waste any more time and shouted directly at the security guards behind him. Wait a moment. However, at this moment, Su Mubai suddenly shouted. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Su Mubai felt that this matter was definitely not as simple as Gao Fei said, and Chin Mo would never do such a thing. Although Su Mubai has been trying to find ways to deal with Chin Mo and make Chin Mo be with her. But at this time, after seeing Gao Fei bullying Chin Mo, she was still very angry, so she chose to stand up at this time. Miss Su, what do you mean? Manager Wang blinked and asked Su Mubai. Gao Fei, you said Chun Mo molested your girlfriend. Do you have any evidence? Su Mubai directly questioned Gao Fei in a cold voice. For a moment, everyone started discussing in low voices again. No one expected that Su Mubai would stand up and speak for Chen Mo. There was a hint of surprise in the eyes of Gao Fei and Wei Zichen. According to their investigation, they did not find any relationship between Chen Mo and the Su family. If someone else stood up and spoke, Gao Fei might have just scolded that person away, but he couldn't afford to offend Su Mubai from the Su family. Of course, the most surprised person at this moment might be Chinemo himself. He also didn't expect Su Mubai to help him. At this moment, Chinemo looked at the sexy, beautiful, and noble Su Mubai in front of him and felt that he really had no way of guessing what was in this woman's mind. On the one hand, he used his connections to get himself expelled from the school. And at this time, I was in danger and he tried to help me. This woman's mind is really hard to figure out. Chapter 33. You have no evidence, but I do. Originally, the club's manager had planned to have Chen Imo taken away directly and then handed him over to Gao Fei for handling. But no one expected Su Mubai to stand up at this time. The eldest princess of the Su family is not someone that ordinary people can mess with. So Manager Wang looked at Gao Fei with some embarrassment and whispered, "Mr. Gao, this person is Miss Su's friend. You'd better get this matter correct. Don't let any misunderstandings arise. I can't bear the responsibility." The expression on Gao Fei's face began to become ugly. He was undecided for a moment, so he could only turn his head and look in the direction of Wei Zichen. Wei Zichen walked out of the crowd and said calmly, "This matter itself has nothing to do with me, but since I saw it, I will say a few fair words." "Okay, let me hear how fair your words are," Chen Emo said to Wei Zichen with a smile. Wei Zichen was stunned for a moment. A hint of anger flashed in his eyes, and then he whispered, "Everyone actually saw this man molesting Mr. Gao's girlfriend just now, so I don't think there is any need for any evidence, right?" "Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. He molested Mr. Gao's girlfriend." Li Haoyu finally found an opportunity to show himself, so he shouted at the top of his voice without any hesitation. Chen Imo glanced in the direction of Li Haoyu indifferently, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart that it was really a narrow road for enemies to meet on, and he was actually here too. "I happened to see it, and I'm willing to prove it," Wang Yubin also shouted. It seemed that at this moment, almost everyone who had a grudge against Chan Imo seemed to have come. Perhaps because Li Haoyu and Wang Yubin started it, everyone present began to stand up and prove that they also saw Chun Imo molesting Su Jiaojiao. For a moment, Wei Zichen's face looked very proud. "Ms. Su, even though this man is your friend, so many people here saw him molest my girlfriend, so it shouldn't be too much to ask me to break his hands now, right?" Gao Fei finally gained the confidence and shouted directly at Su Mubai. Su Mubai stood there with a very confused expression on her face. She even doubted whether Chen Imo had really molested Su Jiaojiao. Otherwise, why would so many people suddenly appear to speak up for Gao Fei? "Chan Imo, did you molest this woman?" Su Mubai asked Chen Imo directly. "No." Chen Imo looked at Su Mubai and shook his head. "You didn't lie to me, did you?" Su Mubai confirmed again. "Do you think I'd be that kind of person?" Chen Imo turned his head and glanced at Su Mubai indifferently. Su Mubai took a deep breath and shouted at Gao Fei, "It is absolutely impossible that Chen Imo molested your girlfriend. No one can take him away today." Wei Zichen couldn't help but frown after hearing what Su Mubai said. He didn't expect Su Mubai to stand up. What was originally a very simple matter has now become complicated due to the participation of Su Mubai. "Ms. Su, what do you mean? There are so many witnesses here, and the parties involved on both sides are here. Just because this person is your friend, can't you take him away?" In order to vent his anger, Wei Zichen finally chose to confront Su Mubai head-on. Su Mubai whispered, "You guys can't just say that things are the way they are, right? You can take Chen Imo away, but you must produce substantial evidence." "Then tell me, what is substantial evidence?" Wei Zichen asked back directly. "It's simple. Show us the surveillance video. Otherwise, nothing we say now will be of any use." Su Mubai was sure that Wei Zichen would not be able to produce the surveillance video. Even if it could be taken out, if Chun Imo really molested Su Jiaojiao, then she, Su Mubai, would have considered it as the wrong person. If he did not molest Su Jiaojiao, then it would also prove Chen Mo's innocence. Wei Zichen was stunned for a moment, because he knew that if the surveillance footage was really taken out, it would prove that Chen Imo was framed. When Su Mubai saw that Wei Zichen seemed to be hesitant, he seemed to be even more certain that Chen Imo was wronged. "Manager Wang, go find the surveillance video now. The surveillance video can't deceive people," Su Mubai shouted at Manager Wang. After hearing what Su Mubai said, Manager Wang's eyes flashed with helplessness, and then he whispered, "Miss Su, I'm really sorry, because we need to protect the privacy of our guests, so not everyone can view the surveillance. At least I don't have this right." Wei Zichen and Gao Fei both breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. After all, if this video were to be released, wouldn't they be the ones causing trouble? You are the general manager of this club, and you can't watch the surveillance video. Who is qualified to do so? Su Mubai asked with some confusion. Only Madam Wang has the qualifications, Manager Wang said in a low voice. Su Mubai looked at Manager Wang and didn't know what to say for a moment. She and Wang Fengxia had only met a few times, so there was no way she would go to Wang Fengxia for this matter. Ms. Su, since neither of us can produce any evidence, why don't we do this? Today, we won't break Chen Mo's hand. Let Chen Mo apologize to Gao Fei and let the matter go. This will avoid ruining everyone's mood for today's gathering. What do you think? Wei Zichen knew that with Su Mubai here today, he would definitely not be able to do anything to Chen Mo, so he thought of this method. Let Chen Mo apologize first. As long as Chen Mo apologizes, it means that Chen Mo admits that he molested Su Jiaojiao. He can find an opportunity to deal with the follow-up matters. Su Mubai looked at Chen Mo naively, as if asking whether Chen Mo was willing to apologize. Apologize? Chen Mo smiled faintly, then looked at Wei Zichen and said, "You just found a woman to accuse me. The ones who should apologize are you, not me. Chen Mo, are you a little ungrateful?" Wei Zichen asked Chen Mo while gritting his teeth. "You are the one who really doesn't know what's good for you." Chen Mo responded to Wei Zichen coldly, and then continued. "You can't produce the surveillance video, but I can." As he spoke, Chen Mo took out his cell phone. Chapter 34. Thanks to you. Wei Zichen's expression was very confused after hearing Chen Mo's words, because he really didn't understand what Chen Mo meant by this sentence. Manager Wang has made it very clear just now that, except for Wang Fengxia herself, no one else can check the surveillance video in the hall. Not even the general manager is qualified to do so. Wei Zichen was a little confused. What evidence could Chen Mo produce to prove his innocence at this time? He couldn't let He Jiaojiao admit that she was deliberately framing Chen Mo, right? Wei Zichen knew very well in his heart that even if He Jiaojiao had 10,000 courages, she would never betray him. A hint of doubt flashed across Su Mubai's beautiful eyes. She seemed a little confused as to where Chen Mo got the confidence to say this. "Can you provide evidence to prove your innocence?" Gao Fei looked at Chen Mo and sneered. "Yes, I can provide evidence." Chen Montauk nodded slowly. "Okay, if you can produce evidence to prove your innocence today, I won't waste any more time. Gao Fei, will kneel down and apologize to you. What do you think?" Gao Fei seemed very excited and shouted at Chen Mo. Chen Mo looked at Gao Fei and smiled faintly, then said softly, "Isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to kneel down and apologize in front of so many people? It doesn't matter what's appropriate or inappropriate. As long as you can prove that you are innocent and that you didn't molest my girlfriend, I will apologize to you," Gao Fei said in a very determined tone. Chen Montauk nodded slowly. "What if you can't prove your innocence?" Wei Zichen suddenly asked Chen Mo. "Do whatever you want with it." Chen Montauk replied indifferently. Wei Zichen turned his head and looked at Gao Fei. "If you can't prove your innocence today, I'll chop off your hands. Do you have any objection?" Gao Fei said through gritted teeth. When Chen Mo heard Gao Fei's words, he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. If it were an ordinary person, it would be very difficult to cut off someone's hand. But in the eyes of these rich second generations, cutting off someone's hands seems to be a very ordinary little thing. "Of course, I have no objection." After Chen Mo said this, he took out his cell phone. Wei Zichen, Gao Fei, Su Mubai, and others all focused their attention on Chen Mo, and their faces seemed to be very confused. Beep, beep, beep. After the phone rang several times, the other party slowly answered it. "Xiao Chen, did you come to the club? The security guards won't let you in." Wang Fengxia asked with a smile after answering the phone. Because of the previous Guqin incident, Wang Fengxia still had a very good impression of Chen Mo. Although they had only met once, because of the Guqin, Wang Fengxia's attitude towards Chen Mo was even better than that of many rich second generations from big families in Nanyang City. "Grandma Wang, I've already arrived at the cocktail party, but I'm in a little trouble right now, so I may need you to come forward and prove it for me," Chen Mo said softly. "So that's how it is? I'm chatting with some friends upstairs now. Please wait a moment, I'll be downstairs soon." Wang Fengxia did not ask Chen Mo what had happened, but agreed readily. "Okay, don't worry, just come down when you have time." Chen Mo replied calmly, and then hung up the phone. "Grandma Wang?" Su Mubai looked at Chen Mo with a hint of doubt in his eyes, and couldn't help but secretly wonder if Chen Mo knew Wang Fengxia. Gao Fei also hurriedly walked to Wei Zichen's side and then whispered to Wei Zichen, Mr. Wei, something is wrong. Is this kid talking to Mr. Wang on the phone? Why are you panicking? I have already investigated Chun Mo's identity. He's just a poor student. Do you think a poor student would know someone of Wang Fengxia's level? That's fine. I'm just worried that this kid has some background, which would make today's matter difficult to handle. Gao Fei breathed a sigh of relief. If Chun Mo really knew Wang Fengxia and played the video surveillance just now, Gao Fei would be completely finished. And Wei Zichen was just a bystander from beginning to end, so he definitely had no influence. Wait a moment, my evidence will be here soon. After Chun Mo put down his phone, he said to Gao Fei, Boy, how long are you going to make us wait? Are all these people waiting for you here? Do you know that the cocktail party is about to start? Manager Wang frowned and shouted at Chun Mo. At this moment, he had only one thought in his mind, which was to hurry up and finish this matter. Otherwise, once Wang Fengxia came down and saw what happened, she might also be implicated. Chun Mo looked at manager Wang expressionlessly, but said nothing. Su Mubai walked directly to Chun Mo's side and asked softly, Who were you calling just now? Wang Fengxia. Chen Montak replied calmly. Su Mubai's beautiful eyes flashed with surprise, and then he frowned and asked, How could you know Wang Fengxia? Isn't this all thanks to you? Chun Mo couldn't help but sneer. What does it have to do with me? The expression on Su Mubai's face seemed even more confused. You used your mother's connections to get the school to expel me, so I have no choice but to come to Wang Fengxia and see if I can get the school to rescind the decision to expel me. Chen Montak explained calmly. Su Mubai was still very confused when looking at Chun Mo because she couldn't figure out through what relationship Chun Mo knew Wang Fengxia. A person of Wang Fengxia's level is not someone a poor student can get to know. Moreover, Su Mubai knew very early that the Chu family, to which Chu Runting belonged, did not have a good relationship with Wang Fengxia, so the Chu family had no way to act as a middleman. Even when Xia Zijing introduced Chun Mo, she did not mention the relationship between Chun Mo and Chu Runting. Just when Su Mubai was puzzled about this matter, a group of people slowly walked down from upstairs. The person walking in the middle of the crowd was none other than Wang Fengxia. Any one of the people following Wang Fengxia could be one of the top bosses in Nanyang City, but they were extremely cautious in front of Wang Fengxia. Chapter 35, Public Execution. Under the gaze of everyone, Wang Fengxia slowly walked towards Chun Mo with a smile on her face. When manager Wang saw Wang Fengxia coming over, the expression on his face began to become nervous. Although he didn't know the relationship between Chun Mo and Wang Fengxia, he was worried that Chun Mo's molestation of He Jiaojiao might affect him. Wei Zichen couldn't help but frown slightly, because he found that Wang Fengxia's eyes were always on Chun Mo. Could it be that the person Chun Mo called just now was really Wang Fengxia? A horrifying thought appeared in Wei Zichen's mind. Gao Fei was also a little at a loss. For a moment, everyone in the hall looked at Wang Fengxia. Wang Fengxia slowly came to Chun Mo and asked him softly, Xiao Chun, you said you were in trouble just now. What kind of trouble is it? After Wang Fengxia finished speaking, everyone present couldn't help but look at her in disbelief, and the expressions on their faces were as shocked as they could be. It seemed that no one had expected that Chun Mo would actually know Wang Fengxia. Moreover, from the tone of Wang Fengxia and Chun Mo's voice, these people could feel that the relationship between the two seemed to be a little unusual. Chun Mo slowly told Wang Fengxia what had happened. While the two were talking, Su Mubai's eyes were full of surprise. Only then did she realize that she didn't seem to understand Chun Mo at all. As she continued to interact with Chun Mo, she discovered that Chun Mo seemed to have more and more secrets. Originally, she just thought Chun Mo was good-looking, so she chose to confess to him. But later she found out that Chun Mo was Chu Runting's boyfriend, and later she found out that Chun Mo actually knew Mu Rushue. And now, she discovered that Chun Mo actually knew Wang Fengxia. She really couldn't understand how Chun Mo, an ordinary college student, could have such a terrifying network of connections. The expressions on Gao Fei and Wei Zichen's faces at this moment were as if they had eaten shit. They thought that dealing with Chun Mo was just a small matter, but now it seems that things are not as simple as they imagined. Wang Yubin, Li Haoyu, and others stared at Chun Mo with their eyes wide open. They looked like they were petrified. They opened their mouths wide, but couldn't utter a word. A few minutes later, Wang Fengxia understood what happened and said to manager Wang expressionlessly, Xiao Wang, can't you even handle this kind of thing properly? You haven't even figured out whether Xiao Chun Mo was wrongly accused or not, but you're planning to have Chun Mo taken away? Is this how I taught you to do things before? Mr. Wong, I'm really sorry. I just wanted to hurry up and deal with this matter. Manager Wong said to Wong Fengxia with a very nervous expression. It's right to deal with it as soon as possible, but you can't just deal with it indiscriminately, right? If Chinemo didn't know me, or if I wasn't here today, then wouldn't no one know what happened? Wong Fengxia said angrily. Boss Wong, I was wrong. Manager Wong hurriedly bowed his head and apologized. Wong Fengxia chose not to pay attention to Manager Wong, but walked up to Gao Fei, looked him up and down, and said calmly, just now you said that Chen Mo molested your girlfriend, right? Gao Fei looked at Wong Fengxia in front of him, his expression as nervous as it could be. Because he didn't know Wong Fengxia at all and didn't know what he should say, he could only turn his head and look at Wei Zichen, as if seeking Wei Zichen's help. Grandma Wong, Gao Fei is a friend, Wei Zichen said to Wong Fengxia with a smile. Wong Fengxia glanced at Wei Zichen calmly, then said calmly, so it's the boy from the Wei family. I didn't expect that you still remembered me. Grandma Wong? Wei Zichen quickly smiled. Is your grandfather here today? Wong Fengxia continued to ask. No, Grandpa's been ill lately. Since this child is your friend, and this incident happened at my cocktail party today, I must give this child an explanation today. If Chinemo really molested this girl, you don't have to do anything. I will handle it myself. Wong Fengxia said expressionlessly. Wei Zichen's expression seemed a little surprised. He didn't expect Wong Fengxia to speak like that. Gao Fei's eyes were also full of excitement. He didn't expect Wei Zichen to have such a great honor. But if Chinemo was wrongly accused today, then I must give Chinemo an explanation. Manager Wong, go get me the surveillance video, and then play it directly on the big screen so that everyone present can see clearly what is going on. But Wong Fengxia then made Gao Fei and Wei Zichen fall directly into the abyss of hell. Others may not know what is going on, but Gao Fei and Wei Zichen know it very well in their hearts. Once the surveillance video is really released, the fact that the two of them framed Chinemo will be confirmed. At that time, Gao Fei may not just kneel down and apologize to Chinemo. Gao Fei looked at Wei Zichen nervously. Wei Zichen whispered to Wong Fengxia, Grandma Wong, the cocktail party is over. How about we have the cocktail party first, and then investigate this matter after it's over? It was obvious that Wei Zichen was deliberately delaying time. I think we should investigate the matter first. If Chinemo really molested Gao Fei's girlfriend, then Grandma Wong can give Gao Fei an explanation, right? Su Mubai took this opportunity to shout expressionlessly. Wong Fengxia looked at Su Mubai in surprise and was very puzzled as to what this girl was thinking. On the one hand, she was trying every means to deal with Chinemo at school, and now she was helping Chinemo. The cocktail party doesn't cost a bit of time. I believe many people here are curious about the truth of the matter. Manager Wong, go find the surveillance camera. Wong Fengxia hesitated for a moment and then spoke slowly. When Gao Fei heard this, his face turned extremely ugly and his body couldn't help but began to tremble. Wei Zichen also didn't know what to do. If he continued to stop Wong Fengxia from playing the surveillance video at this time, it would obviously be because he was guilty. But if he didn't stop it, he didn't know how to explain it later. A few minutes later, the big screen in the hall suddenly lit up. Everyone present turned their heads to look at the big screen, and many people's eyes were filled with anticipation. After all, they were all there to watch the fun, so they naturally didn't mind big things. Gao Fei stood there with his teeth gritted. He knew that once the surveillance video was released, it would be equivalent to a public execution. Bah! At this moment, Gao Fei made an unexpected move. He actually knelt down in front of Chinemo. Chapter 36. Forgive others when you can. When everyone present saw Gao Fei kneeling down to Chinemo, they all looked incredulous. They couldn't understand why Gao Fei suddenly knelt down. What do you mean? Chinemo looked at Gao Fei with a very puzzled expression and asked, Chinemo, can I just admit my defeat today? Can you please stop showing the surveillance video? Gao Fei knew very well in his heart that once the surveillance video was released, he would be guilty of framing Chinemo, and there would be no room for maneuver in the matter. The Gao family is just a second-rate small family. Once Wong Fengxia knew the truth, she would definitely deal with Gao Fei, and Gao Fei would be dead. That's why Gao Fei chose to kneel down and apologize to Chinemo at this moment, asking Chinemo to let him go. Chinemo looked Gao Fei up and down, then said calmly, Mr. Gao, what are you doing? Why are you kneeling down for no reason? If we release the video, won't we all know the truth? Don't you want to see if I really molested your girlfriend just now? I don't want to. Gao Fei didn't hesitate at all and just shook his head at Chinemo. Chinemo couldn't help but sneered and then said lightly, "You don't want to know the truth of the matter, but I do." You. Gao Fei's eyes widened instantly when he heard Chun Mo's words. He never thought that Chinemo was actually planning to force him into a desperate situation. "My girlfriend has been urging me to give her an explanation. If the surveillance video is not released today, I won't be able to explain it clearly." Chinemo grinned at Gao Fei. "Let's be merciful. He has already knelt down for you. What else do you want?" Wei Zichen seemed to be unable to bear it any longer and asked Chinemo in a low voice while gritting his teeth. "I didn't expect that Master Wei actually understands the principle of forgiving others when you can." Chinemo couldn't help but sneered, then slowly turned around and asked Wei Zichen, "Then I'm a little bit better. If it wasn't Gao Fei who was kneeling here, but me, Chinemo, would you ever think of letting me go?" Wei Zichen looked in the direction of Chinemo with an extremely ugly expression on his face, because only then did he realize that Chinemo seemed to be thousands of times more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. "But since you have spoken, Master Wei, I must give you face. I don't have to release this surveillance video today. If you kneel down and apologize and admit your mistake, I won't let Grandma Wang release it." Chinemo continued to speak to Wei Zichen. After hearing what Chinemo said, Wei Zichen's face became extremely ugly. He never thought that Chinemo would make such an excessive request. Wei Zichen is different from Gao Fei. He is the heir of the Wei family, and the Wei family can definitely be regarded as a first-class family in Nanyang City. So it was impossible for Wei Zichen to kneel down to Chinemo in front of so many people. This Xiao Chun, after hearing the conversation between Chinemo and Wei Zichen, Wang Fengxia smiled helplessly and couldn't help but secretly sigh in her heart that Chinemo was really too young and hot-tempered. However, Wang Fengxia never stopped Chinemo because she felt that it was not a bad thing for young people to be more energetic. "What? Master Wei, you don't want to kneel down, right?" Chinemo asked with a smile after seeing that Wei Zichen hadn't spoken for a long time. "Why should I kneel down for you?" Wei Zichen gritted his teeth and replied to Chinemo, "You know in your heart why you have to kneel down to me. It's fine if you don't want to kneel down today, Mr. Wei, but sooner or later you will kneel down in front of me. Chinemo, do you understand?" Chinemo said to Wei Zichen in a cold voice. "Okay, then we'll see what happens next." Wei Zichen snorted coldly, then turned and left. Gao Fei knelt on the ground in a daze, with an extremely desperate expression on his face. He didn't expect that he would have to bear all of this in the end. "Manager Wang, you can play the video now." When Chinemo saw Wei Zichen leaving, he did not choose to stop him. After all, he could not produce any evidence that Wei Zichen was involved in this matter. And even if there was evidence, Wang Fengxiao would never offend the Wei family because of Chinemo. At this time, the most Chinemo could do was to use Wang Fengxiao's power to suppress Gao Fei. But this is enough for Chinemo. After today's cocktail party, his name and what happened today will spread among the upper circles in Nanyang City. Chinemo can also use this opportunity to continue to expand his popularity and influence. Soon, the surveillance footage appeared on the big screen. Chinemo hurriedly took out his mobile phone and sent a video to Chu Runting. "What are you doing?" Chu Runting asked impatiently while sitting in the car. "Didn't you just ask me to explain to you how I molested others? Now I'm going to explain." Chinemo replied with a smile, then pointed the camera towards the big screen. A few minutes later, the surveillance video finished playing. Everyone also clearly saw how He Jiaojiao took the initiative to approach Chinemo and frame Chinemo. However, most people did not seem to be surprised by this result, because they already knew what was going on from the moment Gao Fei knelt down in front of Chinemo. "My dear, you should understand what's going on now, right? I was really wrong." Chinemo held up his cell phone and shouted excitedly. Okay, now I know you've been wronged. I said my boyfriend would never do such a thing." Chu Runting comforted Chinemo with a helpless expression. "Do you know how much pain I felt when you wrongly accused me just now? I thought no one in this world would believe me, but you had to believe me. But I didn't expect that in the end, even you wouldn't believe me." Chinemo pretended to be heartbroken. Su Mubai, who was not far away, felt inexplicably jealous after seeing Chinemo constantly video chatting with Chu Runting. She even regretted that she should not have stood up to speak for Chinemo just now. "You're not done yet, are you?" Chu Runting was in no mood to watch Chinemo acting here, so she asked directly. "Forehead." Chinemo looked at Chu Runting on the phone screen with an embarrassed expression. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. "Okay, I'm not going to talk to you now. I'm going to drive." Chu Runting continued. Good. Chun Mo agreed with a slightly disappointed look. Chu Runting on the screen just smiled faintly, didn't say anything, and hung up the phone directly. Chapter 37. Annie, let me have a good talk with you. After the surveillance video was played, Wang Fengxia brought Manager Wang and others to Gao Fei and he Jiao Jiao. Gao Fei, do you have anything else you want to explain now? Wang Fengxia asked Gao Fei in a cold voice. Grandma Wang, Gao Fei looked at Wang Fengxia with an extremely ugly expression, but he didn't know what to say. Since you have nothing to explain, then Chinemo, how do you think I should deal with Gao Fei? When Wang Fengxia saw that Gao Fei didn't say anything, she turned around and asked Chinemo again. Chinemo hesitated for a moment, then asked Gao Fei softly, Mr. Gao, I don't know you personally, and there is no grudge between us, so I don't understand why you want to frame me. What good will it do you to frame me? Gao Fei looked up at Chinemo without saying anything. Mr. Gao, there is no grudge between you and me, so I don't intend to do anything to you today. All you need is for you to tell me who is behind you framing me. To many people, what Chinemo said was actually nonsense, because anyone with normal intelligence could see that it was definitely Wei Zichen who ordered Gao Fei. However, Chinemo still wanted Gao Fei to say it himself, because then he would have a reason to deal with Wei Zichen. Chinemo, you have offended someone you shouldn't have offended. No matter what you do to me today, I will never tell you who told me to do this. Gao Fei replied to Chun Mo coldly. If you don't want to talk about it, forget it. Chinemo looked at Gao Fei and smiled, then said to Wang Fengxia, Grandma Wang, I don't know what the rules are here. If something like this happens, how should Gao Fei deal with it? Leave one finger behind before you go. Wang Fengxia replied to Chinemo indifferently. Gao Fei was so frightened when he heard Wang Fengxia's words that he broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly shouted at Wang Fengxia, Grandma Wang, for the sake of my grandfather, can you please not cut off my fingers? If it weren't for your grandfather, do you think you could walk out of this hall today? Wang Fengxia asked directly in a cold voice. Gao Fei looked at Wang Fengxia and was completely dumbfounded, with an extremely ugly expression on his face. Manager Wang, take these two people away. Wang Fengxia spoke directly to Manager Wang. Good. Manager Wang quickly nodded and agreed, then signaled the security guard to take Gao Fei and he Jiao Jiao away. Xiao Chen, come with me. Wang Fengxia turned her head to look at Chen Mo, then walked forward. Chen Mo followed Wang Fengxia with a smile on his face. At this time, the rich people in Nanyang City were all looking at Chen Mo and then secretly memorized Chen Mo's appearance in their hearts. They knew very well that since Wang Fengxia was willing to offend Gao Fei and Wei Zichen for Chen Mo, it meant that the relationship between Chen Mo and Wang Fengxia must be complicated. That's why they kept an eye on Chen Mo, wondering if they would have a chance to get in touch with him in the future. You kid actually knows how to use me to gain leverage. You really deserve to be the son of Chun Nantian, Wang Fengxia said indifferently to Chen Mo. After hearing this, Chen Mo couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, Grandma Wang, I really can't hide anything from you. Originally, this matter is not a big deal. It was Gao Fei and his people who were stupid enough to bring it to you. You deliberately provoked Gao Fei, Wei Zichen, and others. Aren't you trying to make this matter bigger and then end it? In this way, those people in Nanyang City will know you. Chen Mo. Wang Fengxia analyzed calmly. Chen Mo didn't say anything. You kid, I'm naturally willing to help you if you use me as leverage. But the prerequisite is that you have to have real skills, and you have to show me the results of the Guqin competition in the near future. Otherwise, you will be harming yourself. Nanyang City is not a big place, and I, Wang Fengxia, can definitely destroy a person with just one word. Wang Fengxia was very direct in her words. Chen Mo wants everyone to know his relationship with Wang Fengxia, and use Wang Fengxia's background power to do what he wants. Wang Fengxia doesn't mind people misunderstanding their relationship, but at the same time, Chen Mo must be of use to her. But for now, Chen Mo's greatest value is the Guqin competition. Once the Guqin competition is over, Chen Mo will be of no value to Wang Fengxia, so Chen Mo must make himself valuable during this period of time. Really rich people will never help an ordinary person for no reason. What they look at is how much value this person can create for them. Chen Mo and Wang Fengxia walked into a private box while chatting. There were only 5 people in the box at that time, including 2 middle-aged men, a very beautiful middle-aged young woman, and 2 young girls. And one of these 2 young girls is Su Mubai. As for the other girl in a black evening gown, she looked a few years older than Su Mubai. Although she was not as pretty as Su Mubai, her temperament was outstanding. As for the beautiful young woman with beautiful appearance and noble temperament, she should be Su Mubai's mother Huang Lei. I have to say that Chinemo still feels that women of Huang Lei's age are more attractive, with sexy figures and noble temperaments. That natural feeling of a young woman is really irresistible. Huang Lei was wearing a gray stepmother skirt. Her curvy figure was particularly attractive under the skirt, and she was wearing a pair of exquisite high-heeled sandals on her feet. If Chinemo hadn't known this in advance, it would have been hard for him to imagine that Huang Lei was actually a woman in her 40s. Her skin is fair and tender, and is well maintained like that of a 20-year-old girl. "Annie Wang, you're here?" After seeing Wang Fengxia, Huang Lei stood up and greeted her. "Xiao Huang, you seem to be much more beautiful after not seeing you for a few days." Wang Fengxiao replied to Huang Lei calmly, and then took the initiative to introduce. "Xiao Huang, this is Chen Mo." "Hello, Aunt Huang." Chen Mo quickly greeted him with a smile. Huang Lei looked Chen Mo up and down, then looked at Su Mubai beside her, and then said directly, "So it was you who rejected my daughter?" "Mom!" A hint of helplessness flashed across Su Mubai's eyes. "Come here, sit over here, Annie. Let me have a good chat with you." Huang Lei ignored Su Mubai and waved and shouted at Chen Mo. Chapter 38. Let me be a son-in-law?